Chapter 65. After receiving the quest, Lu Qinghong didn't immediately complete the quest. Instead, he turned around to find Fu Moyan and the others. I'll share the quest, but if I can choose the reward, I want priority. Sure, but the items dropped by the boss will depend on luck. Xingjia didn't refuse. Instead, he made a request. As for why Lu Qinghong had come looking for them, he knew in his heart why. According to this quest, they didn't just have to deal with these bosses. They also had to deal with a large number of bandits. Not to mention, none of these bosses were easy to deal with, especially the Liang Mountain Fort Master. He was almost invincible at this stage. With Lu Qinghong's strength alone, even if he emptied his family's resources, he couldn't increase the completion rate of the quest too high. It was still unknown whether they could complete this quest. As for Xingjia's request, Lu Qinghong agreed without hesitation. What we need to know now is where the bosses of Liang Mountain Fort are. If they all gather together, no matter how many people we have, we won't be able to complete the quest. Yang Yu frowned and said seriously, there was no guidance for this quest. In other words, as for where the boss was, it was up to them to find it themselves. This way, the difficulty of the quest would be increased by several times. Lu Qinghong said, we'll have to rely on everyone. Send people to find the bosses and defeat them one by one. As for the Liang Mountain Fort Master, we'll leave him alone for now. Okay, the others nodded. Liang Mountain Fort's martial arts hall master, Zhang Fong, has reached the 6th level of martial arts after killing too many mutants. Walking in the wilderness, a message made Qin Shujian stop in his tracks. Zhang Fong, 6th level of martial arts. At first, he was startled. Then, a smile appeared on his face. It could be said that Zhang Fong's advancement had more or less made up for Zhang Hong's death. However, since Zhang Fong is advancing now, he must have encountered a large number of players. It seems that I have to go and take a look. Qin Shujian pondered for a moment. Then, he turned around and rushed to another location. Zhang Hong was besieged and killed by players. He couldn't let Zhang Fong suffer the same fate. Nowadays, the players were getting stronger and stronger. Although the strength of a person at the 6th level of the martial realm was powerful, once they were surrounded, there was still the risk of them exploding. He didn't want to have an expert at the 6th level of the martial realm immediately return to their original state. As for Zhang Fong's whereabouts, Qin Shujian had a rough idea. This was because he didn't send the 5 halls to slaughter the players in Stone Forest randomly. Every hall had its own area of activity. The 5 halls connected to each other to form a huge encirclement, further compressing the movement space of the players and slowing down their growth. Therefore, it was not too difficult to find Zhang Fong's whereabouts. In the wilderness, with Zhang Fong as the leader, the dozens of mountain bandits from the martial arts hall fought against the numerous players. As for the players' side, the leaders were Lu Qinghong, Fu Moyan, and the others. The 5 elements 8 trigrams under Zhang Fong's feet could be seen moving around the encirclement of the players like a butterfly. His withered palms contained terrifying strength. Every time his palms landed on a player, the opponent's tendons and bones would be broken. He relied on his movement technique to move around. Most of the players' attacks missed and didn't cause any real damage to him. This boss's speed is really fast. If this continues, we might fail miserably. Xingjia looked at the ghostly figure's footsteps and his face didn't look good. As a player who practiced the physique training technique, speed, it had always been his weakness. He preferred the kind of boss that was direct and powerful. Of course, the boss of Mount Liang was an exception. Xingjia was most annoyed by this kind of speed or dodging boss. He couldn't even catch up. Then what was the point of fighting? Surround him and reduce the boss's movement space. Restrict his speed. Xingjia immediately made the most correct decision. After receiving the command, the players who were fighting with Zhang Fong immediately formed an iron formation, wanting to surround him. Zhang Fong obviously knew what the players were planning. So, he immediately ordered the bandits from the martial arts hall to attack the players' formation. This way, Xingjia's plan fell through. After all, the bandits weren't weak. Generally, they were at least 1 level higher than the players. The attack of dozens of bandits was no less threatening than a 6th-stage martial arts stage boss. However, the players' actions weren't completely ineffective. Under the attack of the bandits, although the formation didn't succeed, it still limited part of Jingfang's movement range. Long-range players shoot quick. The physique training players don't let the boss out of the range. Melee players attack with all your strength. First, get rid of the normal bandits. Under the command, after a short period of chaos, the players immediately formed an orderly formation. Seeing this, Zhang Fang immediately shouted, "Attack with all your strength and stop the Inhumans' arrow formation." If it wasn't a 7th stage martial arts stage bronze skin. After all, the defense wasn't strong enough to ignore the arrows. After giving the order, Zhang Fang immediately exploded with powerful qi and blood. As his palms whistled, the fierce wind from his palms suddenly blew, killing 2 players who couldn't dodge in time. At the same time, a few bandits at the level of a leader suddenly went berserk. They took the opportunity to break through the players' defense line and kill the long-range players. Elite monsters. Fu Moyan's eyes focused. He immediately broke away from the battle circle. The green steel sword suddenly exploded with fierce wind and attacked one of the bandit leaders. An elite monster. The weakest one was at the 4th stage of the martial arts stage. With such strength, he was much stronger than most of the players present. If they were allowed to attack the long-range players, it would definitely be a situation of heavy casualties. So, the moment Fu Moyan attacked to stop them, he immediately shouted, "Stop them!" In fact, he didn't need to say it. When the bandit leaders went berserk, some players broke away from the battle circle and shifted the attack to them. Swoosh! Arrows were shot into the sky and then fell towards the bandits. Although the players and the bandits were tangled together, the bandits were still the majority. Every round of arrow rain had 40 to 50 arrows. After 3 rounds of arrow rain, almost half of the bandits were injured, and a quarter of them were killed. However, after 3 rounds of arrow rain, the players stopped. It wasn't that they didn't want to continue, but that they had used up all their arrows. The cost of making arrows was very high, and the speed was very slow. Even if Lu Qinghong and the others tried their best to collect arrows, the number of arrows they obtained in the end was not a lot. Not to mention, before killing this boss, they had wasted a lot of arrows on the Langshan Fort Master. However, to be able to achieve this result with 3 rounds of arrows, they were already very satisfied. Chapter 66. Bang! A burly figure, like a big bird, came from afar and landed behind the long-range players. In an instant, the weeds on the ground suddenly caved in. A strong vibration could be felt, causing many players standing at the back to lose their balance and fall to the ground. This sudden turn of events, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. Master! Zhang Fang, who was covered in blood and fighting, couldn't help but reveal a surprised expression. As for Lu Qinghong and the others, it was as if they had seen a ghost. Master of Liang Mountain Master. Instinctively, when they saw Qin Shujian's face, they couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Their hands, which were holding their weapons, faintly trembled. No one had expected this. At this time, the master of Liang Mountain Master, who was like a nightmare, would suddenly appear. One had to know. Before these players decided to ambush and kill Jingfang, they had already done a detailed investigation to ensure that there wouldn't be any unexpected changes. That was why they dared to act so brazenly. However, Qin Shujian's appearance was completely out of his expectations. Retreat. Lu Qinghong and the others didn't need to discuss anything. They all made the same decision. Originally, after 3 rounds of arrow rain, the victory of the battle was already in their favor. However, they had no choice but to give up such a great opportunity. The other players, at this time, they also abandoned their opponents and wanted to take the opportunity to retreat. Naive. Qin Shujian had a faint smile on his face as he slightly shook his head. Immediately, his expression suddenly changed. The tiger head blade was suddenly unsheathed, as if a black tiger was shaking the heavens and the earth. Kill. Leave no one alive. Before he finished speaking, he had already made the first move. Roar. The black tiger's roar shook 100 miles. The true chi of the eternal spring art surged from his body and attached to the tiger head blade, causing the sharp blade light to become even more terrifying. Rip. The air was torn apart. The blade cut through everything. Xingjia only felt a fatal aura coming from behind him. Without thinking, he stopped and turned around. The 9th grade iron shield that he had just obtained not long ago was placed in front of him. However, the 9th grade iron shield was nothing in front of the tiger-headed saber. A faint green glow appeared on the blade, and it cut through Xingjia's body with ease. The white light dissipated. The iron shield broke into two and fell to the ground. After killing Xingjia in one move, Qin Shujian's expression remained unchanged. It was as if he had just killed an insignificant ant. In the next second, he charged towards the other players. At this moment, Zhang Feng and the others also reacted. When Qin Shujian went on a killing spree, he chased after the fleeing players. Originally, the situation was declining. The tables were turned in an instant. Qin Shujian, who was in the 10th stage of the basic martial realm, was already so powerful that it made others despair. Now that he had reached the 9th level of the Eternal Spring Arts, he had the special attribute of a first-grade true qi. Combining the two, his strength had become even more terrifying. However, the strength of the players this time was much weaker than the last time they besieged Qin Shujian. As one side wavered, the other grew. The players were no match for him. In just a moment, all the players, including Lu Qinghong and the others who couldn't escape in time, were slaughtered. This time, with the help of the bandits from the martial arts hall, there weren't many players who could escape. Probably, only about 1/10 of them escaped. Master, all the players have been killed. Zhang Feng, whose body was covered in blood and whose qi and blood were still boiling, came to Qin Shujian's side and reported respectfully, "Well done." Looking at Zhang Feng and the other bandits from the martial arts hall, Qin Shujian's expression became much gentler. Although more than half of the bandits from the martial arts hall were dead or injured, there were less than 20 people who were still standing here. This number was only 1/4 of the huge martial arts hall. However, these less than 20 bandits had at least reached the 3rd stage of the basic martial realm. Among them, 7 or 8 had reached the 4th stage of the basic martial realm. For the current Liangshan stronghold, the 4th stage of the basic martial realm was considered the level of a small leader. In other words, in the eyes of the players, this could be considered an elite monster. The other dead bandits would respawn 3 days later, so it was inevitable that their realm would drop by 1 stage. But compared to the overall situation, the martial arts hall strength didn't drop, but rose instead. Contact the other halls. Gather all our forces and launch an all-out attack on the players. Qin Shujian's expression was solemn. Taking advantage of the fact that some players had just respawned and their strength was weakened. Newbie Village, respawn point. As the white light dissipated, Lu Qinghong and the other players had already reappeared here. This time, no one said anything. Regardless of whether it was Lu Qinghong, Fu Moyan, Xingjia, and the others, their expressions were extremely calm. However, if one were to look carefully, one would be able to see the raging flames of fury in their eyes. Cold, mountain, stronghold, master. Lu Qinghong's hands, which were hidden in his sleeves, were tightly clenched into fists. He didn't even notice that his fingernails were digging into his flesh. His calm expression gradually became distorted. The anger in his eyes was already showing signs of erupting. How many times? 3 times? 4 times. In just a few days, he had successively fallen into the hands of the other party. This made Lu Qinghong feel as if he wasn't playing a game. It was more like the game was playing him. He really wanted to use all the strength of his family to kill the Cold Mountain Stronghold Master. But, this thought, he could only think about it. Not to mention the distance between the newbie villages. Just the terrifying strength of the Cold Mountain Stronghold Master was enough to make people shrink back. Fight. Obviously, he couldn't win. Don't fight. The other party was like a ghost that wouldn't go away. Wherever he went, that damned figure would appear there. It was like a nightmare that possessed him, tightly entangling him and not letting go. Thinking about him, Lu Qinghong, one of the top experts in Newbie Village 23012. Now, he was pushed to the 1st level of the basic realm by a boss. She had almost been whitewashed. Thinking about this, Lu Qinghong was burning with anger. But the reality was so cruel. He could only forcefully suppress the anger in his heart. Then, he shifted his gaze. When his gaze fell on the others, the anger in his heart couldn't help but subside a little. Fortunately, he wasn't the only one who suffered heavy losses. People like Fumoyan and Xingjia also fell to the second or third level of the basic realm. This was human nature. If he was the only unlucky one, he would blame the heavens for being unfair. But if everyone was unlucky, he would feel comforted. Of course, Lu Qinghong wasn't stupid enough to directly show his inner thoughts on his face. On the contrary, his face was heavy. His lips moved a little, but he still broke the silent atmosphere. Now, should we go and kill the other bosses of the Cold Mountain stronghold, or should we temporarily forget about it? Does anyone have any suggestions? Chapter 67. Kill the other bosses of Cold Mountain Village? Xingjia took a deep breath, shook his head and said, I don't know what method Cold Mountain Village's chief has, but he can sense that the other bosses are in danger. If we attack the other bosses, it's hard to guarantee that he won't appear. Let's put this matter aside for now. Regardless of Qin Shujian's appearance, was it a coincidence or not? To him, it was no longer important. This time, he was killed. Not only did his realm drop by 1 level, but even the 9th grade iron shield that he had spent so much effort to collect was directly destroyed. Such a loss. Xingjia didn't want to suffer a second time in a short period of time, because he really couldn't afford to lose. The hidden NPC you mentioned before, can he really deal with Cold Mountain Village's chief? Li Zengwen's eyes were a little red as he stared at Lu Qinghong and said word by word, It shouldn't be a problem. Lu Qinghong recalled the feeling that the NPC gave him and couldn't answer with certainty. In the end, Qin Shujian gave him too much pressure. It almost made him think that the other party was an invincible existence. Li Zengwen immediately said, Let him do it. As long as he can kill Cold Mountain Village's chief, I'll give him a reward this time and I'll owe you a favor in the future. Me too. Me too. Yang Yu, Fu Moyan, and the others also spoke. This time, Qin Shujian had really forced them into a corner. They had been killed by the same boss several times in a row, and each time, they were almost completely wiped out. This anger, if they didn't vent it out, they would suffer internal injuries from holding it in. Xingjia's face was also gloomy. We've already contacted the novice village on the Lion-Tiger Plain. It won't be long before they enter the Stone Forest. According to Cold Mountain Village's current movements, they'll probably make a move on our novice village soon. When the time comes, we'll join forces with the 2 novice villages and kill him. Subsequently, Lu Qinghong directly left and went to contact the hidden NPC that could deal with Cold Mountain Village's chief. The others did some simple tasks to recover their health and try their best to make up for the lost realm. Leaving the novice village, on the side of a passageway that wasn't too remote, a sloppy Taoist sat down leaning against a tree. Beside him, there was a tattered banner. A few large black words were written on the grayish-white broken banner. Yin Yang and 5 elements, 10 divinations and 9 spirits. At this moment, there were also a few players who passed by who went to talk to the sloppy Taoist. In the end, they reluctantly took out a tael of silver and handed it over. Then, the sloppy Taoist said a few words to the player who paid him. The player left in satisfaction. After the players left, the slovenly Taoist priest put away the silver and shook his head while chanting loudly, Yin and Yang, 5 elements, 10 divinations, 9 spirits, 1 tael of silver each time, can be used to determine misfortune and fortune. It was a pity. Some passers-by only glanced at it and walked away. 1 tael of silver. To the current players, this was not a small sum of money. No one would casually take it out and give it to a Taoist who looked like a charlatan, even if a few players were willing to fork out money. But in their eyes, he was just a fool with a lot of money. When Lu Qinghong arrived and saw the sloppy Taoist, he walked straight over. Taoist priest, I'm here. Oh, it's you. Could it be that you're also here to calculate today's fortune? The sloppy Taoist priest's turbid eyes seemed to have a little more spirit, and there was a smile on his face. Lu Qinghong squatted down and said seriously, I'm here this time because I hope that you can do me a favor. What favor? Help me deal with a person, Lu Qinghong said directly. Then, He seemed to feel that it was not correct enough and corrected himself. Deal with a very powerful person? When the sloppy Taoist priest heard this, his smile gradually disappeared and he looked lazy. Who is it? Liangshan gang leader. Lu Qinghong said word by word. As he spoke, his eyes were fixed on the sloppy Taoist priest. To others, the sloppy Taoist priest looked more like a charlatan than an expert. After all, many players had paid the IQ tax when they met some NPCs who were scamming people in the game. But Lu Qinghong knew deeply that the sloppy Taoist priest in front of him was a hidden expert. As for the sloppy Taoist priest, actually, he did not know much about him. He only knew that he was called Qingxian. The reason why he knew how powerful the Qingxian Taoist was because he had once received a mission from him. After completing the mission, he received a high-level technique. It was also because of this reason. That was why Lu Qinghong could tell that the Qingxian Taoist was extraordinary. As for this sloppy appearance, it was more in line with the appearance of an expert who played around the world. The Qingxian Taoist was stunned at first. Then, he involuntarily made a few calculations with his 2 fingers on his right hand, and a look of amazement appeared on his face. Strange. I can't even calculate it. The Qingxian Taoist seemed to have discovered a new continent. His turbid eyes seemed to have cleared up, and then he looked at Lu Qinghong. What's the name of the Liangshan gang leader? I don't know. Lu Qinghong's face stiffened. He did not expect the other party's words. He only knew that the dam boss was the Liangshan gang leader. Apart from that, he did not have any additional information. You don't know? The Qingxian Taoist twirled his little beard with a strange expression, but soon, he returned to normal. Then, he looked at Lu Qinghong and said with a faint smile, You said that you want me to help you deal with the Liangshan gang leader. Then, why should I help you? As long as you're willing, you can state your conditions. Lu Qinghong was delighted. The other party did not reject him immediately. This meant that there was a possibility of success. Actually, when he came to find the Qingxian Taoist, he was also uneasy and did not have 100% confidence. The reason why he thought that the other party would help him, it was also because he had some interactions with the other party before. Then, he made a guess. As long as you can help me find an innate spiritual item within a year, I'll help you. The Qingxian Taoist said. The Qingxian Taoist is here to find an innate spiritual item. He hopes that you can help him. As a reward, he's willing to help you at any time. Mission: find the spiritual item. Requirements: innate spiritual item 0 of 1. Mission time limit: 1 year. If the mission fails, you will be hunted down by the Qingxian Taoist. If the mission is completed, the Qingxian Taoist will help you once, can be paid in advance. Do you accept? Looking at the mission notification, Lu Qinghong fell into a short silence. This was the first time he had heard of an innate spiritual item. Fortunately, the time limit of this mission was 1 year. What made him hesitate was that if he failed, he would be hunted down by the Qingxian Taoist. Lu Qinghong was not sure what realm the Qingxian Taoist was at. If he really provoked a terrifying existence, he would be hunted down. Thinking about it, he could not help but shudder. However, compared to the problem at hand, being hunted down by the Qingxian Taoist was a problem for later. Moreover, the mission was not guaranteed to fail. Therefore, after thinking about it, Lu Qinghong chose to accept. Give me 1,000 taels of silver first. Chapter 68. 1,000 taels. Lu Qinghong was almost choked by the sudden words. 1,000 taels. That was not just 1,000 copper coins. Even if it was 1,000 copper coins, not every player could afford it. Not to mention 1,000 taels. Lu Qinghong asked again with uncertainty. He wanted to confirm if he had heard wrongly. Taoist priest, I have promised to help you find the connate spiritual item. What is this 1,000 taels for? What do you think of me? Well, Taoist priest, you're naturally an expert. Then I don't look like a fool. The Qingxian Taoist pointed at himself and sneered. You promised to help me find the connate spiritual item. Do I really believe you? If you break the contract, I will not be able to make up for the loss even if I cut you into pieces. So, 1,000 taels as a deposit. As long as the money is in place, everything is negotiable. Otherwise, hee. At the end, the Qing Xian Daoist sneered, full of sarcasm. His meaning was obvious. Don't even think about getting something without risking anything. Lu Qinghong opened his mouth and was speechless. Indeed, just as the Qing Xian Daoist said, it was not impossible for him to stand the other party up and run away. After all, which player would stay in the beginner's village forever? More importantly, Lu Qinghong had such a plan in his heart. Anyway, his initial goal was to find a way to trick the Qing Xian Daoist into helping him. As for the other party's conditions, he would agree to whatever he could and force himself to agree to whatever he could not. As long as it was not immediately fulfilled, it would not be a big problem. But the Qing Xian Daoist obviously saw through his plan and directly blocked his way out. 1,000 taels of silver. This was not a small amount. Someone once compared the price in the game with the real world. 1,000 taels of silver was roughly equivalent to 1 million in the real world. Moreover, there was a price but no supply. Because it was only the early stage of the game, most players' purchasing power was measured in copper coins. When it came to silver, they were all rich people in the game. It was also because of this that those who could take out 1 tael of silver for fortune-telling were all rich people in the eyes of other players. He hesitated for a while. Lu Qinghong clenched his teeth and said in a deep voice, "Fine. As long as Daoist priest can help me deal with Mount Liang's leader, I will pay the 1,000 taels of silver." "Young hero Lu, you're so bold." The Qing Xian Daoist smiled and gave him a thumbs up. "You have half a day. Wait for me here. Have a safe trip. Come back early." Looking at Lu Qinghong's departing back, the Qing Xian Daoist called out enthusiastically. When Lu Qinghong was completely out of sight, the Qing Xian Daoist stroked his beard and shook his head. 1,000 taels. These mutants sure are rich. TSK. On the other side, after Lu Qinghong returned, he immediately found Fu Moyan and the others and told them about Qing Xian Taoist conditions. It was a prerequisite of 1,000 taels of silver. Fu Moyan and the others were also taken aback. However, he was merely surprised. For them, 1,000 taels of silver was not a small price, but it was not impossible to obtain. Moreover, not all of this money could be shouldered by one family. If it was spread out, it would only be 100 or 200 taels of silver per person. If that was the case, there would not be any problems. Money could make the devil turn millstones. As long as one was willing to spend money, 1,000 taels of silver would not even take half a day to gather. In a wilderness plain, the bandits of the Cold Mountain Stronghold gathered. Stronghold head, Niufeng and the others looked at Qin Shujian in front of them, their expressions extremely respectful. Qin Shujian turned around and looked. Out of the 500 Cold Mountain Stronghold bandits, only 100 or so were left. The rest had died in the battle with the players and had not respawned yet. As for the bandits standing here, the lowest realm was the 3rd level of the basic realm. Even the leaders of the 4th and 5th stage of the basic martial realm had increased by quite a bit. Even, there were 2 more people at the 6th level of the basic realm. These 2 people, not Niufeng and Su Yuanming, but Zhang Tiniu and Wang Taizhu. This was because the 2 of them had received cultivation techniques after the 5th level of the basic realm. Although Niufeng and Su Yuanming were already at the peak of the 5th level of the basic realm, the cultivation techniques after that limited their progress. It was not that Qin Shujian did not teach them the first 8 levels of the body tempering scripture. It was just that the 2 of them still needed a certain amount of time to completely transform it, so it was not that fast. 3 experts at the 6th level of the basic realm, full of vitality. 7 at the 5th level of the basic realm. 23 at the 4th level of the basic realm. The rest were all at the 3rd level of the basic realm. This kind of strength allowed the Cold Mountain Stronghold to reach an unprecedented peak. Even if they only used a 20th of their strength, they would be able to easily submerge the former Cold Mountain Stronghold. The appearance of the players is a crisis, but it is also a rare opportunity. In the past, before the players arrived, these NPCs would need to bitterly cultivate for several years, or even dozens of years to reach their current realm. But with the arrival of the players, all of this has become easy. Qin Shujian looked at the crowd in front of him and could not help but think of a sentence. Fortune and misfortune depend on each other. Misfortune and misfortune lie within each other. The appearance of the players brought a lot of changes to this world. But at the same time, for these NPCs, it also brought about a great opportunity. As the head of the Cold Mountain stronghold, these NPCs were tightly bound to him. As long as he was still alive, these NPCs would not die when facing the players. But if he himself was gone, then these NPCs would most likely die as well. This way, on a certain level, it could be said that they had gone through life and death together. But no matter. For the Cold Mountain stronghold to reach this step from a small stronghold, it could be said that he had poured a lot of effort into it. He had never thought that there would be a day when he could decide the life and death of others with a single word. In just an instant, Qin Shujian's heart surged with a heroic aura. Follow me and flatten the inhumans. Flatten the inhumans. Flatten the inhumans. Instantly, the bandits shouted in unison. Let's go. Qin Shujian turned around and suddenly exerted force between his legs. A small part of the ground immediately caved in. His body was like a startled swan as he dashed into the distance. Behind him, hundreds of bandits moved their feet. Just like Qin Shujian, they also exerted force with their legs and dashed into the distance. Although most of these bandits were just ordinary bandits of the Cold Mountain stronghold, but if they were to be taken out individually, they would be true experts of the third stage of the martial realm. When they burst forth with their full speed, they would not be much slower than a fast horse in a short period of time. As for their aura, they were even superior. Now that hundreds of people burst forth with their full strength, their aura was even greater. Rumble. Chapter 69. At the entrance of the novice village, a small number of players were chasing chickens and ducks. For the players who were alone and had low realms, the wilderness was too dangerous. They might as well kill some chickens and do some small quests. Ignoring the tragic scene of chickens and ducks being slaughtered, the scene at the entrance of the novice village could be considered peaceful. Boom! A figure fell with the force of Mount Tai, causing the ground to tremble. A few players who were close to the figure were not paying attention. They were shaken and fell to the ground. Before they could see clearly what had happened, they saw a mud-stained shoe print swallowing them up directly. Qin Shujian looked at the novice village in front of him with a cold expression after killing a few players of the first stage of the basic martial realm. Whoosh! Whoosh! Behind him, Niufeng and the other bandits had already arrived. A sudden change of events. The players who were stunned at the beginning immediately reacted. They looked at Qin Shujian's face as if they had seen something unbelievable. Liang Mountain Fort Master. Let's go. After a short moment of shock, the remaining players immediately ran toward the novice village as if they were fleeing. As for Qin Shujian, currently, there was no one in novice village 23012 that did not know of him. For these players, Liang Mountain Fort Master was the strongest and most difficult boss they had ever encountered since they had entered the game. Not to mention, there were many bandits behind him. Qin Shujian did not care about the players running away. In his eyes, these players who were only in the first or second stage of the basic martial realm were not worthy of his attention. On the other side, the guards who had been guarding the entrance of the novice village also noticed the arrival of Qin Shujian and the others. Immediately after, they rang the alarm bell without hesitation. Dang! 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 3 sounds of metal clashing resounded throughout the novice village. All the players were alarmed by the sudden sound. Something happened. The moment the alarm bell rang, Li Zongwen's expression changed. At the same time, almost all the players in Novice Village 23012 had received the system message in their minds. Cold Mountain Village has launched a large-scale attack on Novice Village 23012. This is a battle of life and death. During this period of time, every time you kill a bandit, you will receive a corresponding reward. The more bandits you kill, the stronger you are, and the more generous your rewards will be. This is a compulsory mission. You have to defeat Liangshan Village or kill Liangshan Village's chief. After the mission is over, you can go to the village chief to collect your reward. Mission failure. Novice Village number 23012 will be destroyed. All players' realms will drop by 3 levels. experience gain will be reduced by 50% for 10 days. What? Mandatory quest. The faces of all the players who saw this quest turned green. Even Lu Qinghong and the others were shocked at this moment. Obviously, this compulsory mission was completely out of their expectations. In particular, the punishment for failing the mission made them feel the deep malice of the game. His realm dropped by 3 levels. With the current standards of the players, the punishment of 3 realms was enough to send them back to their original state. More importantly, the experience gained for 10 days would be reduced by 50%. When the 2 punishments were stacked together, it was equivalent to a death sentence. When Liangshan Village's chief attacked Novice Village number 10021, I didn't hear of any compulsory missions. So, if we can't stop Liangshan Village, then we'll be derailed. Looking at the contents of the compulsory mission, Lu Qinghong rubbed his aching forehead. These were 2 punishments. Especially in the early stages of the game, they were absolutely fatal. Xing Jia's expression was solemn as he said in a deep voice, "It seems that this game has a new change. Novice Village number 10021 didn't have a compulsory mission, but now we have one. However, no matter what, we have no way out now. Our realms will drop by 3 levels, and our experience gain will be reduced by 50% for 10 days. If we fail, then in the future, when the top players reach martial arts stage 7 or 8, we'll only be able to struggle at martial arts stage 2 or 2. Let's fight." I don't believe that Liangshan Village is invincible. Lu Qinghong's eyes flashed with a hint of madness, but he quickly restrained himself. He turned his head and looked at the Qingxian Taoist, who had nothing to do. "Taoist, Liangshan Village's chief has arrived. I hope you can help." As for directly discussing the game in front of the Qingxian Taoist, Lu Qinghong wasn't worried at all that it would cause any negative consequences. This was because players had experimented before. When talking in front of these NPCs, words related to the game and NPCs would be automatically filtered out by the system. When these words entered the NPC's ears, they would have a different meaning. The Qingxian Taoist's expression was normal as he said with a faint smile, "Don't worry. I've been paid to help. I'm not the kind of person who goes back on his word." "Then I'll leave it to you." Just as Lu Qinghong and the others were making preparations, Liangshan Village officially attacked Novice Village number 23012. A large number of guards gathered together and fought with the bandits. However, with just one cover, the guards of the Novice Village were in a one-sided situation. Compared to the bandits, who were at least martial arts stage 3, most of the guards were at martial arts stage 1. Only a small number of them had reached martial arts stage 2 or 3. This kind of strength was far too lacking compared to the bandits. Even the guard captain, who was at the 6th level of the basic realm, was surrounded by Zheng Fong and the others and was beaten up mercilessly. If it wasn't for the endless stream of players rushing over, the guards wouldn't have been able to last a few rounds and would have been completely defeated. At the same time, in the Novice Village, powerful auras appeared one after another. Even though he hadn't seen them yet, Qin Shujian could already feel the surging power of qi and blood. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all experts at least at martial arts stage 6 or above. Although they're all novice villages, the one in Stone Forest is much stronger than the one before. Qin Shujian stood in place and didn't move, allowing those auras to come from afar. The novice village in Liangshan only had one martial arts stage 6 expert and one village chief at martial arts stage 8. But now, just from the auras alone, including the guard captain who was being beaten up, in the novice village in front of him, there were already 6 experts at martial arts stage 6, not to mention the village chief who was at least at martial arts stage 8. Qin Shujian had always had a guess. Was the strength of the novice village related to the strength of the local power? Previously, Liangshan village was weak, so the novice village wasn't strong. Now that Stone Forest's overall strength had surpassed Liangshan villages by an entire street, the novice village's strength had also become stronger. However, these were only guesses. He wasn't 100% sure. However, Qin Shujian also believed that it was most likely the case. Otherwise, there was no way to explain why some novice villages were stronger and some were weaker. Chapter 70. 6th level of the martial arts realm, Qi and blood flourishing. When an expert of this level fully explodes his Qi and blood, it is enough to give others a great pressure. Of the 5 Qi and blood forces that Qin Shujian sensed, 3 of them came the fastest. He saw 3 people coming from afar like big birds. They had yet to arrive. The pressure had arrived. Mere bandits dare to come. An angry voice came from afar, but before it could finish, it was covered by the sound of a saber being unsheathed. Clang! Qin Shujian moved his wrist, and the tiger-headed saber was unsheathed. Qi and blood flourishing. Copper skin. Iron bones. Bone marrow abundant. Mixed elements as one. In less than a second, the power of the 10th level of the martial arts realm was completely released. That aura was like a roar that could topple mountains and overturn seas, destroying anything that stood in its way. Under the impact of this attack, the 3 NPCs' faces were filled with shock. But before they could react, they saw Qin Shujian's body explode. The tiger-headed saber was like a deadly blade, occupying their entire vision. The power of the 10th level of the martial arts realm was more than 10,000 pounds. Immediately after, the saber heavily whipped the 3 people. Bang! The 3 people's bodies were instantly crushed by this violent power. Their exploding bodies were mixed with a rain of blood. In an instant, 3 experts of at least the 6th level of the martial arts realm died. And at this moment, the owners of the other 2 Qi and blood forces finally arrived at the scene. Coincidentally, they saw Qin Shujian whipping the 3 people with one saber. They only took a glance. The 2 people were terrified. His aura, which was originally like a rainbow, rapidly declined. 2 more people came to die. Qin Shujian held the saber in one hand and looked at the 2 frightened NPCs with bloodthirsty eyes. A cruel smile that even he didn't notice appeared on his face. Retreat. Being targeted by Qin Shujian, the 2 people couldn't suppress the fear in their hearts. They retreated at a speed faster than when they came. As for the other players, when they saw Qin Shujian kill the 3 famous NPC experts of the novice village with a single slash, they all consciously took a detour and turned to kill the bandits. As for the famous Mount Liang's stronghold master, no one dared to stop him. Just because they didn't dare to stop him didn't mean that Qin Shujian would turn a blind eye to it. As he chased after the 2 fleeing NPCs, he unleashed a flurry of attacks from his saber, engulfing all the players in his path. All the players who couldn't escape in time went to the resurrection point to queue up. At the same time, Qin Shujian's speed did not slow down at all. In just 2 or 3 seconds, he was already less than 10 feet behind the 2 of them. Feeling the terrifying threat behind them, the 2 of them no longer cared about their reputation and shouted loudly, "Village chief, save us!" A hoarse cry for help. The news spread throughout most of the novice village. Before Qin Shujian could finish his sentence, a powerful aura erupted from afar. Moreover, this aura was rapidly moving towards Qin Shujian. The entire process took less than 2 seconds. A tall and sturdy middle-aged man with a grave and stern face wearing silver armor appeared in front of the 2 of them. The powerful aura emitted from him made Qin Shujian involuntarily stop. His pair of sword-like eyebrows twitched slightly. Village chief. Seeing this person, the 2 NPCs felt as if they had been pardoned. You 2 go deal with the other bandits. Leave this person to me. Zhang Guang waved his hand, but his gaze was fixed on Qin Shujian. He had already known about the deaths of the 3 people from before. He had to admit, he had underestimated the strength of this Mount Liang's stronghold master. 3 experts of the 6th stage of the martial realm were killed without even being able to withstand a single blow. Zhang Guang didn't even have time to rescue them. By the time he reacted, only 2 of the 5 experts of the 6th stage of the martial realm were left. Therefore, Zhang Guang didn't care about anything else. He directly blocked Qin Shujian to prevent the entire village's foundation from being wiped out by Qin Shujian. I've always minded my own business with Mount Liang's stronghold. Why do you have to be so aggressive? Zhang Guang still asked the question in his heart. To tell the truth, he had no idea why Mount Liang's stronghold attacked Novice Village 23012. He also didn't think that there was anything in his Novice Village that was worth coveting. Qin Shujian tilted the tiger-headed saber in his hand. His expression gradually turned solemn. Is there a need to know the reason? This rhetorical question made Zhang Guang's expression turn grave. Is there a need? No need. No matter what the other party's goal was, it was a fact that the two sides had started an all-out war. Moreover, 3 experts of the 6th stage of the martial realm had died in the other party's hands. This was already an irreparable hatred. Thinking of this, Zhang Guang's expression was as cold as ice. His valiant aura intensified. Indeed, there's no need to know the reason. Since you dared to invade, I'll take a look at your methods. The destruction of this place is a fact. No one can change it. Qin Shujian raised his hand and pointed the tip of his saber at Zhang Guang. I'll say it. The next moment, the two people suddenly disappeared. Boom! The ground under Zhang Guang's feet cracked. His palms contained the power to split open steels and rocks. As he attacked, a strong wind blew from his palms, attacking Qin Shujian. On the other side, Qin Shujian used the 5 elements 8 trigram steps. The Black Tiger Saber technique, which was at the oneness of heaven and man level, was fully displayed. Roar! The black tiger's roar shook 100 miles. Then, a fierce tiger descends the mountain slashed out. The tiger-headed saber contained a terrifying power, directly squeezing the air and causing an explosion, instantly destroying the wind from the palms. In Zhang Guang's eyes, at this moment, Qin Shujian seemed to have turned into a huge black tiger, pouncing on him. The fierce aura made him frantically alert. He didn't even think. He immediately withdrew his move and retreated. Bang! The extremely sharp saber light slashed down, leaving a deep and long gully on the ground. Then, without waiting for Zhang Guang to respond, Qin Shujian had already raised his saber and rushed forward. In a split second, the saber light burst out like a flurry of blades, containing infinite terror. Zhang Guang immediately fell into a disadvantageous position. He was forced to retreat by the sharp saber light and had no strength to fight back. Clang clang! The saber light slashed and a series of sparks burst out from the silver armor. A powerful vibration came from the armor, directly shaking Zhang Guang and forcing him to retreat. The power that penetrated the armor made his chest feel stuffy, almost suffocating him. What a powerful armor! Looking at the silver armor that was unscathed after receiving his saber attack, Qin Shujian's eyes lit up. What terrifying strength! As for Zhang Guang, he was completely shocked. At the beginning, although Qin Shujian had killed 3 experts of the 6th stage of the martial realm, he was not afraid. As an expert of the 9th stage of the martial realm, if he used his full strength, it was not impossible for him to do so. Therefore, Zhang Guang only thought that Qin Shujian was also of the 9th stage of the martial realm like him. However, as soon as they exchanged blows, he fell into a disadvantageous position, forcing him to only be able to dodge. He did not have the strength to fight back at all. His opponent's valiant strength directly caused his mind to tremble. How was this the 9th stage of the martial realm? He was clearly an expert of the 10th stage of the martial realm. Chapter 71. Boom! The silver figure flew back and knocked down several players. The terrifying impact made the players unable to react before they were sent back to the respawn point. Cough, cough. At this moment, Zhang Guang's body was covered in blood. His silver armor was already broken, and he was coughing up blood. On the other side, Qin Shujian's aura was like a rainbow as he slowly walked toward Zhang Guang with his blade. With every step he took, his aura became stronger. This unforeseen event caused the other players to turn pale with fright. Although they knew from the start that the cold mountain fort master was terrifying, now that they saw Zhang Guang defeated, they couldn't help but feel shocked. Furthermore, this wasn't a simple defeat. Zhang Guang was defeated and looked like he was on the verge of death. Then they looked at Qin Shujian, who was calm and composed. Even his clothes weren't damaged at all. This wasn't something that could be described with the word defeat. This was clearly a beating. This was a one-sided and inhumane beating. This difference in strength made the other players groan helplessly in their hearts. In Novice Village 23012, the village chief was Zhang Guang. But now, Even Zhang Guang was heavily injured and on the verge of death. Who else could stop the Cold Mountain Fort Master? As such, Novice Village 23012 wasn't far from being destroyed. Wait, destroyed? The players who were originally intimidated by Qin Shujian's aura suddenly reacted. Their faces were filled with anxiousness. Damn, Zhang Guang can't die. If he dies, the system will judge that we failed the quest and we'll be screwed. Not only will we drop by 3 realms, but we'll also lose 50% of our experience for 10 days. This is killing us. Hurry up and stop the boss. We can't let Zhang Guang die. The players who reacted couldn't hold back anymore. No one knew how the compulsory quest would determine if they failed or not. However, Zhang Guang was the village chief of the novice village. If he died, the probability of them failing the quest was too high. If they failed the quest, thinking of the consequences, all the players went crazy. Although the price of death wasn't light, in the early stages of the game, 10 days was more important. With such a comparison, death was the lightest punishment. After all, those who had nothing to lose were not afraid of wearing shoes. Right now, most of the players were only at the 2nd or 3rd stage of the basic martial realm. Even if they were to fall, they would only fall to the 0th stage of the basic martial realm. In that case, the punishment for failing the mission would be a drop of 3 cultivation realms. Therefore, after figuring out what was going on, the players who were originally afraid of Qin Shujian immediately charged forward. It's just a boss. We have tens of thousands of players. We have to kill it even if we have to. We can't let a boss ride on our heads. Kill. In an instant, many players had already rushed up to Qin Shujian, throwing all sorts of attacks at him. He looked at the players blocking his way. Qin Shujian's expression gradually turned indifferent. He raised his hand that was holding the saber. Then, the shocking sword light tore through the air like a rainbow. Before the players' attacks could even get close to him, they were completely engulfed by the sword light. Immediately after, the sword light expanded, further enveloping the players. Swish! In an instant, the saber light disappeared as quickly as it came. Qin Shujian still walked forward slowly, but the difference was that the players in front of him had all been cleared. This scene didn't scare the players away. Suddenly, hundreds and thousands of players swarmed toward Qin Shujian. Kill! Roar! The black tiger's roar shocked everyone within 100 miles. Qin Shujian seemed to have transformed into an invincible black tiger, swallowing all the enemies in front of him. Then, the earth-shattering saber light exploded, its terrifying power wreaking havoc. It didn't matter if the players were in the 3rd or 4th stage of the basic martial arts, or the 1st or 2nd stage of the basic martial arts. In front of this biting cold saber, they couldn't even last 1 round. But the players had already made up their minds to drown Qin Shujian in numbers. So every time a player died, there would be an endless stream of players rushing out from the resurrection point. Death, resurrection, death again, resurrection again. In the distance, Lu Qinghong and the others looked at the scene in front of them that was like a meat grinder. They once again had a deep understanding of Qin Shujian's strength. Although there was an endless stream of players delaying the opponent's pace, the situation seemed to be in a stalemate. But anyone with a discerning eye could see that. The players' attacks couldn't hurt this boss at all. The only reason they were able to delay the opponent was because of their advantage in numbers and the anger in their hearts. After a long time, the anger in their hearts would dissipate, and it was very likely that they would collapse. Thinking of this, Lu Qinghong looked at the Qingxian Taoist and said, "Taoist, that is the Liang Mountain Fort's fort master. Please fulfill your promise and take him down." "Don't worry, I keep my word." The Qingxian Taoist laughed. Then, he leaped into the air and landed in the middle of the meat grinder battlefield. Immeasurable deity. This Taoist name seemed to contain the might of the heavens. It directly suppressed all the sounds in the field, and even the black tiger floating in the void was suppressed. The Qingxian Taoist's expression changed from its previous frivolous one to a solemn one. He shouted, "Everyone, back off. I will deal with this person. No one is allowed to interfere." Hearing this, the other players looked at each other. They didn't understand the situation of the Qingxian Taoist who suddenly appeared. But from the looks of it, the Taoist who suddenly appeared was obviously an NPC with unfathomable strength. More importantly, this NPC didn't seem to be on good terms with the Liang Mountain Fort's fort master. As a result, the other players only hesitated for a second or two before they obeyed the order and retreated. Seeing this, the Qing Xian Taoist revealed a satisfied expression. Then, he looked at Qin Shujian and said, "Martial Realm Stage 10 Fusion. I didn't expect to meet an expert like you in this place. Unfortunately, in the ordinary realm, damn." Before he could finish his words, he saw Shuang Han's blade coming at him with the power of thunder. The powerful aura made the Qing Xian Taoist's expression change. There was no hesitation. He lightly moved his feet and pushed out his palm. A gust of wind suddenly appeared on the ground. Then, an illusory green lotus flower bloomed in the gust of wind and blocked the blade. Bang! The tiger head blade fell, and the illusory green lotus flower's petals were instantly destroyed. At the same time, a powerful force exploded from the center of the two. The Qing Xian Taoist and Qin Shujian both trembled and involuntarily took 2 steps back. Each step left an indelible mark on the ground. An expert. Qin Shujian narrowed his eyes. He also became serious when he saw the Qing Xian Taoist who suddenly appeared. The previous confrontation proved that the other party was also a martial realm stage 10 fusion like him. After a short moment of shock, killing intent surged in his heart. "I don't care who you are. Since you dare to block my path, you should be prepared to die." Boom. Chapter 72. On the field. Qin Shujian and the Qing Xian Taoist were fighting fiercely. The wind was strong. They didn't give others a chance to get close. More than 10 minutes had passed since the start of the fight. Qin Shujian became more and more serious. Because he found out, the Taoist in front of him was too strong. He wasn't just at the 10th stage of the basic martial realm. He had deduced the body-forging scripture to the 10th stage and the eternal spring art to the 9th stage. With the combination of the two, he was stronger than an ordinary 10th stage of the basic martial realm. But even so, Qin Shujian found that he wasn't sure if he could kill the Qing Xian Taoist. If he didn't know, there shouldn't be any experts above the 10th stage of the basic martial realm in the ordinary realm. He almost thought that the Qing Xian Taoist had surpassed the basic martial realm. On the other side, the Qing Xian Taoist was as shocked as Qin Shujian. Since when did such an expert exist in the ordinary realm? If he was outside the ordinary realm, wouldn't he be able to break through the basic martial realm? He couldn't understand why such an expert would stay in the ordinary realm. Others might not know, but the Qing Xian Taoist was very clear. He was an expert who had surpassed the basic martial realm. It was only because he entered the ordinary realm that his cultivation was suppressed to the 10th stage of the basic martial realm. But even so, it was still not something an ordinary 10th stage of the basic martial realm could compare with. The Qing Xian Taoist thought that no one in the ordinary realm could be his opponent until Qin Shujian taught him a lesson. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't feel an aura from Qin Shujian that didn't belong to the ordinary realm, the Qing Xian Taoist almost mistakenly thought that Lin Fan was also from the ordinary realm like him. Boom! The powerful blade forced the Qing Xian Taoist's mind to tighten. 3 flowers at one's prominence. The Qing Xian Taoist's expression was solemn. Green true qi surrounded his palms and 3 green lotuses bloomed one after another. As the lotus leaves rotated, the surrounding air was torn apart. Then, the Qing Xian Taoist pushed forward. The 3 green lotuses instantly squeezed the air and smashed toward Qin Shujian. The green lotus swayed, its killing intent concealed. Even though the blue lotus had yet to reach him, Qin Shujian felt a great threat from it. Shortly after, he glanced at the number of life force sources, and when he saw more than 2,000 life force sources, he no longer hesitated. Whoosh! 2,000 life sources evaporated in an instant. The 9th level of the Eternal Spring Art had been upgraded to the 10th level. The 10th level of the Eternal Spring Arts, the 5th level of Longevity Extension, and the 2nd level of Zhen Qi. Immediately after, a warm current that resembled a baby's arm rose from his dantian. In less than a second, it flowed throughout his limbs and bones. Meanwhile, Qin Shujian's aura suddenly surged as the true qi of the eternal spring art erupted. There was a thin layer of real qi on the snow-white body of the tiger-head saber. It had dyed the saber's body with a faint green color. Chop! The tiger-head saber slashed down. The cyan true qi shone brightly. When the 3 green lotuses encountered the tiger-head blade, they seemed to become extremely weak. They were easily chopped into pieces, and then torn into pieces by the green real qi. True qi. The Qingxian Taoist looked as if he had seen a ghost. In the face of the saber that had chopped the 3 green lotuses, he simply chose to retreat. He was now wondering if he had seen wrongly. At the beginning of the fight, the Qingxian Taoist knew that Qin Shujian had taken the path of body forging, and his body was the most powerful. But now, what did he see? True qi. A person who had taken the path of body forging had erupted with true qi that even he was frightened. Did you break the limit of the ordinary realm? The Qingxian Taoist blurted out, but soon shook his head and denied. No, if you broke the limit of the ordinary realm, you would not only have this strength, it's enough to kill you. Qin Shujian's killing intent was awe-inspiring. In the face of the Qingxian Taoist's shock and retreat, his attack did not stop. Whether the opponent was from outside the ordinary realm or not, no matter what the opponent's identity was, since he dared to block his path, he was an enemy. And for the enemy, Qin Shujian had always given the opponent only 2 choices, either surrender or die. Obviously, the Qingxian Taoist would not be willing to surrender. So, the opponent only had the second choice. In an instant, true qi erupted with full force, combined with the black tiger saber technique, which was at the unity of heaven and man level, directly raised the power of this technique by several levels. Every slash of the saber had a monstrous power. The Qingxian Taoist immediately fell into a disadvantageous position. He could only rely on his body movement to dodge, not daring to face it head-on. On the other side, while the Qingxian Taoist was entangled with Qin Shujian, some players had already rescued Zhang Guang to a relatively safe place. Anyway, as the village chief, Zhang Guang could not leave during the war, and more players were attacking the bandits of Liangshan village. There was no other way. The Liangshan village chief was too powerful, and they could not gain any advantage by relying on numbers. They could only fight these bandits who had not reached the realm where they could not defeat them. So, the players who had been snubbed by Qin Shujian vented all their anger on the bandits. But the bandits of Liangshan village were not ordinary monsters that could be compared to them. They were at least at the 3rd level of the martial arts realm. To a certain extent, they could be considered a small elite. Not to mention, after the continuous slaughter, many of the bandits had undergone a metamorphosis. They had broken through the shackles of their cultivation, reaching the 4th layer and even the 5th layer. Kill. Niu Feng killed several players with one slash of his saber. The power of the mountain-cleaving saber technique was fully displayed, and a dense killing intent lingered around him. From the beginning until now, the number of NPCs and players who had died at his hands was no less than 100. If not for the shackles of the technique, he would have broken through to the 6th level of the martial arts realm. But because of this, Niu Feng had been stuck at a bottleneck. He couldn't help but feel a little anxious. In the end, this anxiety turned into a monstrous rage, and he vented it all on the players. Kill. Kill. Both sides were engaged in a chaotic battle. Almost every moment, there were players reviving, and a small number of bandits being killed. Although the bandits were generally strong, in the face of an endless stream of players, they still could not escape misfortune. Find the player village chief and kill him. An angry roar drowned out the battle. After receiving Qin Shujian's order, Zhang Feng and the others looked at the 2 people fighting fiercely. Then, they looked at Niu Feng and the others. According to the village chief's orders, kill our way in and find the player village chief. Okay. Hearing this, Niu Feng and the others immediately nodded in agreement. Then, with Zhang Feng and the others in the lead, they pierced through the encirclement of the players like a spear. Then, they continued to kill as they searched for Zhang Guang. Chapter 73. It was true that Zhang Guang was a level 9 basic martial arts expert, but he was severely injured. His strength had plummeted. It was still unknown whether he could match a level 6 basic martial arts expert. Qin Shujian, who had the experience of exterminating a village, knew that only by killing the village chief of the newbie village would he get the core token. As long as the core token appeared. Once he got the token, the endless stream of players would no longer be a problem. But now he was entangled with the Qing Xian Daoist, so he could only let the bandits of the Liangshan village do it. At this moment, the Qing Xian Daoist was not having a good time either. Qin Shujian, who had deduced the Eternal Spring Art to level 10, had directly increased his strength by at least 50%. At their level, every 10% increase in strength was a big leap. Not to mention, a full 50% increase was enough to be reborn. Even if the Qing Xian Daoist was an expert beyond the basic martial arts realm, he was only a level 10 basic martial arts expert in the ordinary realm. So, in front of Qin Shujian's fierce attacks, he gradually fell into a predicament. Bang! The big saber was fierce, and the green lotus was shattered. The Qing Xian Daoist's body suddenly moved horizontally, forcibly avoiding the tiger head saber. At the same time, his palm struck out like lightning, heavily landing on the left side of the saber. The true qi in his palm spurted out and directly defeated the green true qi. A powerful force surged from the saber. Qin Shujian's body suddenly exploded with a powerful force of qi and blood, as well as the green true qi. With the combination of the two forces, he did not retreat, but instead moved forward. The arm holding the saber forcibly withstood the pressure of the Qing Xian Daoist's true qi and directly pulled back. Boom! The saber was pulled back like a wooden plank. The terrifying force of more than 30,000 pounds directly compressed the air and caused an explosion. Even if the attack did not reach him, the wind caused by the explosion of the air had already caused the Qing Xian Daoist's expression to change greatly. The attack came too quickly. It was so fast that it was too late for him to dodge. Suddenly, a gust of true qi appeared from the Qing Xian Daoist's body, as if it turned into a shield, protecting him. Boom! Crack! As the attack approached, the Zhun Qi shield shattered like a mirror. The tiger head saber's blade did not lose its momentum and landed heavily on the Qing Xian Daoist's body. Bang! The Qing Xian Daoist felt as if he was struck by lightning. His body flew out like weeds. In midair, blood splattered everywhere. Following that, there was another loud noise. The Qing Xian Daoist fell heavily to the ground, causing a medium-sized hole to appear in the ground. On the other hand, the Qing Xian Daoist's Daoist robe was torn apart, and he lay there paralyzed like a pile of mud. Blood seeped out of his ears and nose, and blood gushed out of his mouth. The Qing Xian Daoist, the arrogance hidden in his eyes, had completely disappeared. What was left was only despair. That blow just now had directly shattered all the bones in his body. The reason why he didn't die immediately was thanks to the fact that he was able to forcefully support himself with his current realm. However, the Qing Xian Daoist was very clear. In his current state, there was nothing he could do to reverse the situation. There was no possibility of saving him. His heart was filled with resentment and disbelief. But more than that, he was still unwilling to accept it. I hate it. Qing Xian Daoist roared hysterically. In the end, his eyes stared angrily and he no longer made any sound. A cultivator who had surpassed the basic martial realm had lost his life just like that. Until his death, the Qing Xian Daoist did not dare to believe that he would die in the ordinary realm at the hands of someone who was only at the 10th grade of the basic realm. Qin Shujian bent down and simply searched the corpse. In the end, there was nothing. He felt a little regretful. If such an expert could drop something, it would most likely be something good. The death of the Qing Xian Daoist. Lu Qinghong turned pale with fright. He had watched the battle between the two of them from beginning to end. However, the strength of both sides was too tyrannical. Just the strong wind made other players unable to get close. Therefore, he could only watch from the side and did not have any chance to intervene. But what Lu Qinghong did not expect was that the Qing Xian Daoist would be defeated so quickly. Even though the opponent seemed to be at a disadvantage, it was not to the point where he would suddenly be defeated. After a short period of shock, Lu Qinghong suddenly realized something even more terrifying. That was that the Qing Xian Daoist was dead. Who else could go against the extremely terrifying Liangshan Campmaster? Where are the people from Novice Village 51169? Why aren't they here yet? After the Qingxian Taoist was defeated, Fu Moyan was stunned for 2 seconds. He immediately looked at Xingjia and asked angrily. Xingjia also said angrily, "They are already here. How long will it take? How am I supposed to ask?" Fu Moyan was anxious, but he was even more anxious. Xingjia wanted to go offline and ask about the situation. However, after the compulsory quest appeared, he was notified that he was in a battle state and could not go offline. Originally, asking for help from Novice Village 51169 was only one of the methods. He did not have 100% confidence that he could deal with the Liangshan Campmaster. Now that he saw the power of the Liangshan Campmaster, Xingjia was even more uncertain. He was very clear. If the strength of Novice Village 51169 was about the same as Novice Village 2312, then most likely they would just lose their lives. However, although Xingjia was in extreme despair, he still held on to a glimmer of hope. Yang Yu suppressed the shock in her heart and immediately said, "Think of a way to delay the Liangshan Campmaster. We cannot let him kill the village chief. Otherwise, there will be nothing we can do." But who can stop him now? Fu Moyan's expression was heavy. However, they did not have much time to think. A system message completely broke through the last line of defense in their hearts. Novice Village 23012's village chief, Zhang Guang, has died. Novice Village 23012's village chief has died. The core token is currently ownerless. You can go to the center of the village to fight for the core token. Novice Village 23012's village chief, Zhang Guang, has died. The compulsory quest has failed. Your realm has dropped by 3 levels. The experience you gain for the next 10 days will be reduced by 50%. In an instant, the aura of all the players in Novice Village 23012 became dispirited. The punishment of dropping by 3 levels caused 99% of the players to fall back to the first level of the martial realm. Impossible. How could Zhang Guang die? Who killed him? Lu Qinghong and the others were about to go crazy. The Liangshan Campmaster was clearly still in front of them. However, the Novice Village chief had died, causing them to fail the compulsory quest. One blow after another. It caused them to be in a daze. Not only that, even the other players, upon learning that they had failed the mission, the anger in their hearts dissipated, and they no longer had the will to fight to the death. No one went to the center of the village to fight for the core token, because everyone knew that they no longer had a chance. The players were already no match for the Liangshan camp. Now that their realms had all dropped by 3 levels, it was even more impossible to fight, not to mention the invincible Liangshan Campmaster. Therefore, when Qin Shujian walked toward the center of the village, almost no players stopped him. It went smoothly. He directly arrived at the center of the village. He saw the floating token and the light blue circle. There was no hesitation. Qin Shujian walked in. Chapter 74. In the center of Novice Village 23012. In the pale blue halo of the core token, Qin Shujian stood in the middle of it, the tiger head saber stabbed into the ground. The thick smell of blood still lingered in the air. Around him was a large number of players. They stared at the boss in front of them, but no one made a move. It wasn't that they didn't want to, it was that they couldn't beat him. Even the NPCs of martial arts Tier 9 and Tier 10 had been killed, based on these players who had fallen to martial arts Tier 1 or lower. Liangshan Fort Master. An invincible existence. 10 minutes was neither long nor short. In the blink of an eye, it had quietly passed. You've obtained the core token of Novice Village 23012. You can choose to destroy or absorb it. Destroy. The core token will be converted into the corresponding life force. Novice Village 23012 will no longer exist. Absorb. The Liangshan Fort Master token can absorb the core token of Novice Village 23012. After absorbing it, the Liangshan Fort Master token will be upgraded. Liangshan Fort will also be promoted to a second-grade faction. Seeing the information, Qin Shujian's eyes lit up. Second-grade faction? He had absorbed Mingai Mountain, Chuanyan Fort, and Mountain Chaos Han, but he hadn't been able to promote Liangshan Fort to a second-grade faction. Now, after obtaining the core token of Novice Village 23012, he could finally promote Liangshan Fort to a second-grade faction. As for the system's information, Qin Shujian didn't need to hesitate at all. He made his choice directly. You've absorbed the core token of Novice Village 23012. The Liangshan Fort Master token in your hand has transformed. Because of your identity as the Liangshan Fort Master, Liangshan Fort has been promoted to a second-grade faction. Second-grade faction. All bandits' realms have increased by 3 levels, can't exceed martial arts tier 9. Liangshan Fort's influence has increased. As the Liangshan Fort Master, your realm has increased. Because you're already at martial arts tier 10, your realm increase has failed. You've received an extra 2,000 life force. Boom. At the same time, inside Novice Village 23012, Zhang Fong and the others, who were being attacked by other players, suddenly felt their auras skyrocket. Their attacks instantly became several times sharper, directly sweeping away all the players in front of them. He didn't know why. The ordinary bandits also experienced a surge in their cultivation levels. 6th stage of the basic realm, the peak of Qi and blood. 7th stage of the basic realm, copper skin. 8th stage of the basic realm, iron bones. 9th stage of the basic realm, full of bone marrow. The bandits that were able to survive until now were at least at the 3rd stage of the basic martial realm. Some were even at the 4th stage of the basic martial realm, and some were even at the 5th stage of the basic martial realm. When the Cold Mountain Stronghold was promoted to a second-grade organization, the cultivation levels of these bandits instantly skyrocketed, and they sang loudly all the way, completely defying the shackles of their cultivation techniques. It only took 1 or 2 seconds. The bandits had all changed their hunting rifles into cannons. They were at least in the 6th stage of the basic realm, and were experts at the peak of their Qi and blood. Even the 7th, 8th, and 9th stage of the basic martial realm were born at this moment. What happened? How did these bandits become so strong? The players who were fighting the bandits were shocked when they saw the bandits, who were already stronger than them, suddenly become even more powerful. It was as if they had transformed from an elite monster into a boss. But very soon, a system message sent them to the bottom of the abyss. Because the core token has been absorbed by the Cold Mountain Stronghold Master, Novice Village 20312 no longer exists. The players who originally belonged to Novice Village 23012 will be assigned. During the assignment period, players will be forced to go offline. Countdown. 5 seconds. Damn! Even though they had already expected this result, when they received the message, some of the players couldn't help but curse. They failed. It was a complete failure. Before they could complain too much, their vision turned black, and they were forced to go offline. Then, in the eyes of all the bandits, all the buildings in Novice Village 23012 seemed to have lost their support and collapsed. In an instant, the Novice Village, which was already destroyed by the battle, turned into a pile of ruins. After a short moment of being stunned, Zhang Fong and the others immediately led people to where Qin Shujian was. Not long after, they saw Qin Shujian, who was covered in a murderous aura, standing there. Stronghold Master! Stronghold Master! Zhang Fong and the others bowed their heads and said respectfully. Qin Shujian looked at the bandits in front of him. There were originally hundreds of them, but after the battle, there were less than 30 left. However, the aura of these 20 or so people was completely different from the aura of the others. Among them, 10 had reached the 6th stage of the martial realm, and a few had reached the 7th stage of the martial realm. As for the 8th stage of the martial realm, there were 5 or 6 people, including Niu Feng, Su Yuanming, and Zhang Tiniu. These people were originally experts of the 5th stage of the martial realm. Now that the Cold Mountain Stronghold had become a second-grade faction, they had directly transformed. As for the rest, there were no more. Under the siege of thousands of players, it was already not easy for so many people to survive. Facing such a large number of players, not to mention the 5th stage of the martial realm, even the 6th or 7th stage of the martial realm would be in danger of dying. Therefore, Some of the bandits who should have reached the 5th stage of the martial realm were killed by the players in the continuous battle, and were now waiting to be respawned. However, the one that Qin Shujian really cared about was Zheng Fong. That person was originally an expert of the 6th level of the basic martial realm. In this desperate battle, he had relied on his own strength to hold on until now. When the Cold Mountain Stronghold became a second-grade faction, he had directly transformed from the 6th stage of the martial realm to the 9th stage of the martial realm. Moreover, he was the only expert of the 9th stage of the martial realm in the Cold Mountain Stronghold. Who killed the player village chief? Qin Shujian's heart was beating fast, but he still maintained a calm expression on his face as he lightly asked. Hearing this, all the bandits looked at each other. Finally, Niu Feng took a step forward and said in a deep voice, I killed him. Very good. Qin Shujian looked at him with appreciation and said with a smile, when we return, you will be heavily rewarded. Thank you, Stronghold Master. Niu Feng was overjoyed and hurriedly bowed his head to thank him. Until now, he also understood how shocking his Stronghold Master's methods were. Even he had reached the 8th stage of the martial realm, so how terrifying was his opponent's strength. Therefore, Niu Feng was dead set on staying in the Cold Mountain Stronghold and peacefully became the cloud-piercing Hall Master. As for the other party's reward, needless to say, it would definitely not be simple. Zheng Feng's aura was like a rainbow, and his white hair gradually showed signs of turning black. His hunched back also straightened. Stronghold Master, the player village has already been completely exterminated. What should we do now? Exterminate? Hearing this, Qin Shujian shook his head and said, the player village is like weeds that can't be cut down. It's far from the word exterminate. Stronghold Master, there's a situation. At this moment, a bandit hurriedly ran over from afar. Qin Shujian turned his head and looked. It was one of the members of the intelligence hall that he had arranged to be on guard in the surroundings. Chapter 75. In the wilderness, a team of several hundred players was moving forward. However, the team seemed to have been hit by something and their formation was a bit messy. There are too many elite monsters in the stone forest. We've only been here for a short while, and we've already met 2 elite NPCs of the 7th stage of the martial realm. It's not easy to meet such NPCs in our world. Wang Wanzheng walked at the front and held a broken broadsword in his hand. Although these elite NPCs give a lot of experience, the equipment they drop is too weak. It was a weapon that didn't even have a grade. It couldn't even be considered excellent quality. It could only be considered a broadsword of the lowest grade. No matter how one looked at it, it didn't look like an elite NPC's equipment. This game was different from other games. There was no clear distinction between NPCs and monsters in this game. Killing them would give experience and equipment. The only difference was that NPCs had intelligence while monsters didn't. The definition of a boss was actually very simple. This was because there was no such thing as a template in this game. The difference between normal monsters and bosses was in their cultivation techniques. Normally, monsters or NPCs that could be considered bosses had many powerful cultivation techniques or other means of attack. However, no matter which one it was, it would allow them to have strength that far surpassed those of the same realm. If these were ignored, bosses were no different from normal NPCs or monsters. Another male player at the front of the team shook his head and said, the equipment they dropped was a bit fake, but their strength is at the elite level. Just the experience they gave was actually not a loss. I wonder how Xingjia is doing. I really want to see if the Cold Mountain Stronghold Master is really that powerful. To be able to destroy 10021 beginner village and make 23012 beginner village ask for help, this boss is definitely not simple. Another female player smiled and said, however, with our strength this time and the cooperation of 23,012 beginner village, we might really be able to kill the Cold Mountain Stronghold Master. That's good. I just hope that the Cold Mountain Stronghold Master, that big boss, won't tremble like those 2 elite NPCs. Wang Wanjing laughed. This time, when 23012 beginner village asked for help, they also received a lot of benefits. The reason why they chose to help was because, on the one hand, it was because he had received benefits. On the other hand, He also considered the principle that if the lips were gone, the teeth would feel cold. If Liangshan Village's master was really that strong and destroyed Novice Village 23012, then his next target might be Novice Village 51169. Instead of waiting until the end to fight alone, it would be better to take advantage of this opportunity to get rid of the hidden danger. As for Wang Wanjing's confidence, naturally, it was because of the many players that followed him this time. These were 80% of the high-level players in Novice Village 51169. They were at least at the third stage of the basic realm. The reason why it was able to develop so quickly. It was also because their Novice Village was located in an area where there weren't any powerful monsters or bosses that allowed them to develop steadily until now. Su Jie, who was also the male player who spoke at the back, continued. Let's hurry over and meet up with the people from Novice Village 23012. Then we'll make plans for the next step. Okay, wait. Wang Wanzhang suddenly stopped and pointed at a figure in front of them. Look, isn't that an elite NPC? Hearing this, Su Jie and the others also looked in the direction of his finger. Immediately, a slight smile appeared on their faces. This aura isn't simple. It seems like it isn't a weak elite NPC. How about letting me deal the final blow? I owe you guys a favor. I'm just a bit away from reaching the 6th stage of the basic realm. Su Jie immediately said. It couldn't be helped. A high-tiered elite NPC really gave a lot of EXP. This was much more practical than killing dozens of monsters of the same level, or even hundreds of low-level monsters. Regarding this, the others didn't say anything. It wasn't the first time they had encountered this kind of shabby elite NPC that didn't drop anything other than a decent amount of experience. The enthusiasm and drive they had at the beginning had all been worn out by the previous few times. If it wasn't for the decent amount of experience, this kind of elite NPC that was hard to kill and didn't drop anything would really be beaten by anyone. Just as the group of players stopped and prepared to surround and kill. 1, 2, 10, 20. One after another, elite NPCs with extremely powerful auras appeared. Wang Wanzhang, Su Jie, and the others were completely stunned. Su Jie's face was also deathly pale. As for the idea of leveling up, he had already thrown it out of his mind. Even the other players were shaken to the core. After being stunned for a short while, Wang Wanzhang immediately reacted and hurriedly yelled, "Shit, retreat." The current Wang Wanjing. There was only a capital shit left in his heart. No one had ever told him that there would be so many elite NPCs in the Stone Forest. Moreover, they were in groups. Yes, the strength of their group wasn't weak, but no matter how strong they were, they had to be clear about the situation. If there were elite NPCs of the 6th stage of the basic realm, even if there were 8 or 10 of them, with their strength, they would be able to surround and kill them, even if they had to pay a higher price. As for those of the 7th stage of the basic realm, they could still barely fight 3 to 5 of them. But when the number rose to more than 10, or even 20, there was really nothing much to say. Not to mention, there were even a few bosses with even more terrifying auras. Even from afar, they could make people tremble with fear. 8th stage of the basic realm? Or 9th stage of the basic realm? Or even higher? Wang Wanzhang didn't dare to think about it now. As for the matter of supporting Novice Village 23012, he directly chose to forget about it. With such a large number of bosses, it was already a problem whether or not they could escape unscathed, let alone support them. The group of players turned around and ran as fast as they could. On the other side, Zhang Feng waved his hand and coldly said, "The stockade master ordered that no one should be left alive." After saying that, he leapt up from his original position and charged towards the group of players. Kill! Niu Feng waved his 9-ringed broadsword and led the bandits to kill. He didn't care where these players came from, but if they dared to kill the bandits of his Cold Mountain stockade, then they would die. After breaking through to the 6th or 7th stage of the basic realm, the bandits' physical attributes all rose to an extremely high level. Just their explosive speed alone was enough to leave a fast horse in the dust. Those players didn't retreat very far before they were chased by them. The already messy formation of players was suddenly interrupted by a boss that descended from the sky and forcefully inserted itself into the formation. Instantly, The formation of players was completely scattered. Ninth stage of the basic realm, full of bone marrow. Zhang Fang's palms struck out like phantoms, instantly killing several players. But soon, some of the players realized what was going on. Wang Wanzheng hurriedly said, "Block them. Don't let them mess up the formation. The endurance training players go first and protect the other players from attacking." There was no longer any chance for him to retreat. These bosses were too fast, not something the players could compare to. If they blindly ran, they would definitely die. At this time, they could only reorganize the formation and fight with their backs against the wall. But there was one thing that Wang Wanzheng couldn't understand. Where did so many bosses come from? Or was it that the stone forest was really a place where bosses wreaked havoc? This time, Xingjia really screwed us over. Su Jie was shocked and angry, but his heart was also filled with helplessness. But before he could say too much, the bandits that rushed up instantly scattered the formation that the players had painstakingly reorganized. After being promoted to a second-grade organization, the existing bandits of Cold Mountain Stockade had been raised to a higher level. To the current players, they were considered elites. They weren't any weaker than a boss of a lower level. One elite NPC was easy to deal with. Even 2 elite NPCs wouldn't be a problem. But if dozens or hundreds of elite NPCs attacked together, unless there were tens of thousands or even more players gathered together, anyone who saw them would have to turn around and run. So, from the beginning of the battle, the result was already decided. Chapter 76. In the room, Xingjia came out of the game cabin with a gloomy face. They had failed. In the end, they still failed to stop the attack of Liangshan Stockade. That boss was really terrifyingly powerful. Not only was the village chief no match for it, but even the Taoist NPC that they had spent 1,000 taels of silver to hire was also killed by the boss. This kind of strength, it had completely exceeded the limits of what the current players could bear. Bug, this is definitely a bug. I must complain. I must complain. The more Xingjia thought about it, the angrier he became. He picked up the communication device and was about to call the game's customer service when he froze. This was because he had discovered a problem. There was no customer service in this game. In other words, no one knew the phone number of the game's customer service. In fact, even the company of this game only knew the name. Other than that, no additional information was revealed. This sounded unbelievable. However, this was indeed the case. This company and the game seemed to have appeared out of thin air and spread all over the world in an instant. Xingjia felt that his Xing family was still considered to have some influence. However, no matter how hard the Xing family investigated, they could not find any information. There was no way to complain. Xingjia even had the urge to abandon the game. However, he gave up on this idea in an instant. This was because the realism of this game was many times better than the games he had played before. It even gave him the illusion that he was in another world. This illusion made him involuntarily addicted to it. All of a sudden, the communication device vibrated. Xingjia looked at the data displayed on it and hesitated for a moment before he clicked confirm. Subsequently, a ray of light shone on the communication device. Like a projection, a young man appeared directly in front of him. "Young Master Wang, you came at the right time. I have something to tell you." Looking at the gloomy Wang Wanzheng in front of him, who looked like he was going to swallow him alive, Xingjia was a little confused. However, he did not think much about it and said directly. Wang Wanzheng did not speak. Instead, he continued to stare at him with a murderous gaze. Being stared at like this, Xingjia felt uncomfortable. Starter Village 23012 has been attacked by Liangshan Stockade. Our cooperation has ended. You don't have to bring anyone here. You don't have to refund the deposit. Just treat it as a breach of contract. Hee, deposit. A cold smile appeared on Wang Wanzheng's face as he roared. Xingjia, you still have the guts to ask me for a deposit? Let me tell you, I'm not done with you. Hearing this, Xingjia's face turned cold. Young Master Wang, you didn't lose anything from this. You even earned a deposit for nothing. Don't push your luck. Free money? Give him an inch and he wants a mile? Hearing this, The anger in Wang Wenjing's heart almost turned into reality. If it weren't for the virtual projection, he would definitely rush over and fight Xingjia to the death. Xingjia, I didn't think that you would try to harm us after being attacked by the boss. You've succeeded in your scheme this time. But let me tell you, you and I have formed a grudge over this matter. When the time comes, I will slowly settle the score with you. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Wang Wenjing's face was so cold that it could almost freeze. Xingjia frowned. His instincts told him that something was wrong. What do you mean? When have I ever set you up? You still don't want to admit it? Wang Wenjing sneered. You originally said that the Cold Mountain Stronghold Master might attack your novice village and asked us to bring reinforcements. But you never said that the bandits of the Cold Mountain Stronghold are all elites and boss level. Speaking up to this point, he thought of the scene where he was massacred and his face gradually twisted. This time, in order to support you, we were surrounded by dozens of martial arts stage 6 or 7 elite NPCs not long after we entered the Stone Forest. Hundreds of players were wiped out. And you, from the beginning to the end, never mentioned this matter. You only told me that the Cold Mountain Stronghold Master was the most difficult to deal with. Why are you still trying to deny this matter? If I said that I didn't know about this matter, would you believe me? Xingjia's heart trembled. His first reaction to Wang Wenjing's words was that he was lying. Hee. Wang Wenjing sneered and then turned off the projection. In the room, only Xingjia was left standing there, his expression constantly changing. If his first reaction just now was disbelief, then this was the truth. But now that he thought about Wang Wenjing's attitude, he didn't seem to be lying. Could it be? The Cold Mountain Stronghold's strength has become stronger? Xingjia kept replaying the scene of the previous battle in his mind. Finally, he turned on his computer and opened the forum. At this moment, the pin post on the game forum had changed. The title was scarlet and eye-catching. The Cold Mountain Stronghold Master attacked again. The ferocious boss massacred the Novice Village. After Novice Village 10021, Novice Village 23012 will follow suit. Seeing this, Xingjia clicked on the post with a calm expression. What was playing was the scene of the Cold Mountain Stronghold's bandits attacking Novice Village 23012. From the moment the bandits appeared to the moment the scene froze, everything was shown in the video. It took more than an hour. Xingjia finally finished watching the video. If it could be said that the person involved couldn't see clearly, then now, from the perspective of a bystander, he discovered many things. All along, in Xingjia's eyes, the biggest threat was the Cold Mountain Stronghold Master, the big boss. As for the other bandits, he didn't pay much attention to them. Or rather, it was because the Cold Mountain Stronghold Master's brilliance that the other bandits didn't perform too well. But now, after watching the video from beginning to end, Xingjia suddenly realized that the Cold Mountain Stronghold's bandits were also terrifyingly strong, especially when the scene froze at the very end. The surviving bandits seemed to have undergone some kind of transformation. Their strength seemed to have increased by several levels. But it was a pity. The video ended very quickly. It couldn't take any more shots, so the outbreak of the bandits was only a glimpse. But Xingjia watched it several times to make sure that he didn't see wrongly. Then, he searched the forum again and found the first scene of the Cold Mountain Stronghold's attack. He had watched this video several times. The moment the Novice Village was declared destroyed, the strength of the surviving bandits had also undergone a transformation. Even if this transformation process was very short and not too clear, it was still a very long process. But Xingjia was already certain. The moment the Novice Village was destroyed, the strength of the Cold Mountain Stronghold's bandits underwent a transformation. Could this be the reason why the Cold Mountain Stronghold Master was so keen on attacking the Novice Village? He felt as if he knew some kind of truth. Then, he browsed the forum again, then closed it. Chapter 77. The news of the destruction of Novice Village 23012. Like a hurricane, it instantly swept across the area. If the destruction of Novice Village 10021 was a coincidence, then the destruction of Novice Village 23012 attracted the attention of most players. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that. In less than 10 days, the strength of the Liangshan village's fort master, who had destroyed Novice Village 10021, had undergone an earth-shattering change. Such a speed of improvement. Even compared to players, he was not weak at all. Many people thought that this was a bug. This was because there had never been a game where a boss or NPC could improve at such a godly speed. Some people tried to complain to the game company. However, after many attempts, they all failed. However, there was one thing that these players were certain of. If the Liangshan village's fort master continued to grow at such a speed, he would become a huge threat to players in the future. More importantly, the fort master seemed to have a natural hatred for players. There were hundreds of thousands of novice villages, and within each novice village, there were different levels of boss. However, there were very few boss like the Liangshan village's fort master, who chased after players to the point of destroying a novice village. A boss with unlimited potential. Moreover, a boss that had a natural hatred for players. In the eyes of some players, this was already a hidden danger. He has become stronger. Chao Hong killed an elite monster in front of him with a slash of his blade and collected the spoils of war. His eyes flashed with a trace of seriousness, as well as an undetectable killing intent. After Novice Village 10021 was destroyed, he was immediately assigned to another novice village. Even Chao Hong himself didn't know how far he was from Mount Liang's original location. This was because this game was too big, and the players were still in the beginning stages, far from being able to explore a complete map of the entire world. After being assigned to another novice village, Chao Hong used his own strength to quickly form a new team of players, and then used all their strength to help him increase his level. Until now, in just 10 days, not only did Chao Hong completely make up for his drop level, he even surpassed his previous level and reached Novice Village's 6th stage. Regarding this, however, he did not feel proud at all. Chao Hong was very clear. With Qin Shujian's strength, he was definitely not someone a mere 6th stage of the basic realm could deal with. Unless there was a complete and powerful team, there might be a chance. However, the destruction of Novice Village 23012 caused Chao Hong to completely overturn his original plan. He was almost certain Qin Shujian had definitely reached the 10th stage of the basic realm or even higher. If a player's strength did not reach a certain level, they would not even be able to break through his defense. This game was different from other games. In previous games, even if the attack could not break through the defense, it would still forcefully take -1 HP. As long as there were enough people, and the attacks were frequent enough, then it was possible to rely on the advantage of numbers to directly push the boss. However, that was not the case in this game. If the attack couldn't break the defense, then it couldn't break the defense. There was no such thing as -1. Under such circumstances, no matter how many players worked together, they had no chance of defeating the boss. It was just that unsolvable. It was unsolvable to the point of helplessness. Chao Hong glanced at his mission and saw that it was completed. He immediately said to the others, "The mission has been completed. Let's go back and hand it in." Okay. The other players in the team did not have any objections. To put it nicely, they were Tsang Hong's teammates. To put it bluntly, they were actually hired thugs. As for the words of their sponsor, they just had to listen to them. As for other things, they were just floating clouds. Chao Hong also had a plan in mind. If I complete this mission, then I'll have completed all the prerequisite missions. Then, I should be able to accept that hidden mission, no matter which game it was. As long as there was an additional word hidden in front of the mission, then the value of the mission would skyrocket. According to Chao Hong's own estimation, a hidden mission that could only be triggered by so many prerequisite missions would definitely not disappoint him. On the other side, after destroying Novice Village 23012, Cold Mountain Stronghold was promoted to a second-class faction as they wished. Then, after destroying a group of players who had snuck into the Stone Forest, Qin Shujian made Cold Mountain Stronghold stop for the time being. 3 days passed in a flash. The bandits who were killed in the battle with the players were all revived. As for the bandits who were killed in the battle with the Novice Village guards, they were not respawned. However, the number of bandits who died in the hands of the NPCs was not many, only about 20 to 30. Thus, Cold Mountain Stronghold still had 400 members. More importantly, After being promoted to a second-class faction, even the most ordinary bandit in Cold Mountain Stronghold had the strength of the 6th stage of the martial realm. 6th stage of the martial realm. In the eyes of the current players, they were already boss-level existences. In other words, the current Cold Mountain Stronghold had more than 400 boss-level combatants. If this news were to spread, it would shock all the players. In the Loyalty Hall, Qin Shujian looked at the crowd below. A sense of pride rose in his heart. Zhang Fong of the 9th stage of the martial realm, Niu Feng of the 8th stage of the martial realm, and the other hall masters and vice hall masters, as well as a few newly promoted bandits. If it weren't for Wang Taizhu and Zhang Tiniu dying in the hands of the players, Cold Mountain Stronghold would definitely have 3 experts of the 9th stage of the martial realm, not just one. The rest were all of the 7th stage of the martial realm. The small loyalty hall was now packed to the brim. After the great battle, the first thing to do was naturally to reward the bandits according to their contributions. The first thing Qin Shujian did was to fill in the empty positions of leader, team leader, and elite leader. According to the current number of people in Cold Mountain Stronghold, he set up a total of 5 elite leaders, all of whom were ordinary bandits who had reached the 8th stage of the martial realm. As for the remaining team leader and leader positions, Qin Shujian didn't personally appoint them. Instead, he gave the authority to the hall masters, allowing them to make their own decisions. The hall masters had the authority to appoint team leader and leader. The elite leaders could be appointed as leaders. After making the announcement, Qin Shujian asked the others to leave, only allowing the vice hall masters and above to stay. This time, we were able to destroy the player village and completely bring the stone forest into the hands of our Cold Mountain Stronghold. Everyone put in a lot of effort. If there's a mistake, there's a punishment. If there's a contribution, there's a reward. Qin Shujian sat there, emitting a faint aura of power. He looked around at the crowd and calmly said, "Martial Arts Hall Master, Zhang Fong, your subordinate is here." Zhang Fong cupped his hands and formally replied. Qin Shujian said, "This time, you put in a lot of effort. I can see that you're already at the 9th stage of the martial realm and are shackled by your cultivation method. If you want to advance further, you'll need an opportunity. Now, I'll teach you the 10-stage body forging scriptures. I hope you can reach the peak of the martial realm as soon as possible." Zhang Fong's body trembled. Immediately after, he was pleasantly surprised. He stood up and thanked Qin Shujian. "Thank you for your kindness, master. This old man will definitely sacrifice his life for the Cold Mountain Stronghold." Chapter 78. Tenfold Body Forging Scripture. For Zhang Fong, it was something he could only dream of. Even though he was only at the 9th stage of the martial realm, that was because the Cold Mountain Stronghold was promoted to a second-class power. As a result, compared to the 9th stage of the martial realm, he was still a bit weaker. In the end, it was because his cultivation method wasn't synchronized. The promotion of power directly increased Zhang Fong's cultivation level, but his cultivation method remained at its original level. This was a completely different concept from killing mutants. In other words, Zhang Fong was now at the 9th stage of the martial realm. His main cultivation method was at the 6th stage. If he wanted to reach the 9th stage of the martial realm, his cultivation method would need to synchronize with his cultivation method. More importantly, his main cultivation method was only at the 6th stage, but his cultivation level was at the 9th stage of the martial realm. If there were no accidents, it was almost impossible for him to break through. Therefore, when he heard Qin Shujian teach him the tenfold body forging scripture, he was so excited. As for the others, after hearing Qin Shujian's words, their hearts also surged. A cultivation method that could directly reach the peak of the martial realm. Not only was Zhang Fong tempted, but they were also tempted. Song Hong, who had already respawned, had a calm expression, but his heart was filled with envy. Zhang Fong's cultivation level was originally 1 stage lower than his. Even though he had killed many mutants, he was only on par with him. But when he was besieged by mutants, even though he had killed many mutants, it was still difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. In the end, when he revived, his opponent was already at the 9th stage of the martial realm. On the other hand, His 8th stage of the martial realm had unknowingly fallen behind. Zhang Hong didn't say some things, but he still had pride in his heart. Now that he saw that Zhang Fong had obtained the tenfold body forging scripture, he felt even more threatened. After Zhang Fong thanked him, Qin Shujian looked at Niu Feng and said in a deep voice, "In this attack on the mutant village, the Chuan Yun Hall master, Niu Feng, killed the village chief and will also be given the tenfold body forging scripture. In addition, the stone forest is now part of the Liang Mountain. Chuan Yun Hall can guard the stone forest and prevent thieves from invading." This subordinate obeys. Niu Feng was overjoyed. He immediately stood up and expressed his gratitude. This reward was not as simple as the tenfold body tempering scripture. By now, everyone knew that the stone chaos forest had completely fallen under the control of Cold Mountain Stronghold after the 3 original powers of Mingai Mountain had surrendered. Now, Qin Shujian's intention was clearly to hand the stone forest over to him to manage. In this way, even though he had lost his identity as the head of Mingai Mountain, his authority was much greater than before. At this moment, everyone, including Zheng Fong, looked at Niu Feng with a complicated expression. Chaotic stone forest. The other halls were also keeping an eye on this territory. After all, the headquarters of the Cold Mountain Stronghold was located in Mount Liang. It was unrealistic to use Mount Liang as the center and also take care of the stone forest. Therefore, it was necessary to send someone to take over. However, no one would have thought that such a good thing would fall on Niu Feng's head. However, even though it was unexpected, no one objected to it. Anyone could see that. His fort master valued the current Niu Feng very much. Moreover, Niu Feng had indeed played an important role in this battle. Even if they objected, it was impossible to change Qin Shujian's decision. Instead, it would arouse Niu Feng's jealousy, which was not worth the loss. Then, Qin Shujian looked at Zhang Hong. Wu Wei Hall will assist Chuan Yun Hall in managing the Stone Chaos Forest. Yes. Zhang Hong nodded in agreement. He did not show any displeasure at being inexplicably inferior to Niu Feng. As for Niu Feng, he glanced at Zhang Hong with a trace of displeasure in his eyes. Chuan Yun Hall alone was enough to manage the Stone Chaos Forest. Now that Wu Wei Hall was added, it was obviously a potential competitor. However, he knew what kind of words to say in this situation, so he did not raise any objections. Qin Shujian paused, then said loudly, "In addition, everyone above the rank of Deputy Hall Master will receive the Ninefold Body Tempering Scripture. In addition, Hall Master Zhang will impart the first 8 layers of the Body Tempering Scripture to other brothers." Yes. Zhang Fong clasped his hands and replied. Qin Shujian had considered the reason why he made this decision. For the bandits, whose lowest cultivation was the 6th layer of the martial realm, the first 8 layers of the body tempering scripture were enough for them to digest for a period of time. As for Deputy Hall Master and above, it was enough to impart the Ninefold Body Tempering Scripture. As for imparting the entire Tenfold Body Tempering Scripture, he had no intention of doing so for the time being. This was because Qin Shujian was very clear in his heart. The easier it was to obtain something, the less valuable it would be to others. If he directly imparted the Tenfold Body Tempering Scripture, it would not have much of an effect. It was better to take it step by step and slowly gather the hearts of these people. Afterwards, Qin Shujian's gaze fell on Zhang Tiniu and Wang Taizhu. The two of them had already broken through to the 6th layer of the martial realm. Logically speaking, they should have become experts of the 9th layer of the martial realm like Zheng Fong. However, when the two of them attacked Novice Village 23012, they died under the encirclement of other players. As a result, like Zheng Hong, they fell from the 6th layer of the martial realm back to the 5th layer of the martial realm. Even after the promotion, they only forcefully reached the 8th layer of the martial realm before stopping. Previously, I had the information hall gather information on the Lion Tiger Plains, the Undying Plains, and the Sheening Rebel Army. How long will it take for them to give me the information I want? Wang Tieju's expression became serious as he solemnly said, "At the latest, in 3 days, the information hall will report the truth." Good. Qin Shujian slightly nodded his head. 3 days was not too long. Zhang Fong twirled his beard and said, With the current strength of our cold mountain stronghold, it should be impossible for the neighboring powers to contend against us. If Stronghold Head wants to make a move on the Lion-Tiger Plains, why not just suppress them with a thunderous force? Or does Stronghold Head have some concerns? One could not blame him for being arrogant. The strength of the Cold Mountain Stronghold was simply too much. Over 400 people, with the lowest being the 6th layer of the Martial Realm. Furthermore, they had Qin Shujian, an expert of the 10th layer of the Martial Realm. Just as Zheng Hong had said, there were no experts surpassing the 10th layer of the Martial Realm in the Ordinary Realm. Thus, this force could be considered to have few opponents. Hearing this, Qin Shujian shook his head and said, "No rush, let's wait and see." He did not forget that when they attacked Novice Village 23012, they encountered a Taoist of the 10th layer of the Martial Realm. From the other party's words, it was clear that they were not from the Ordinary Realm. This also revealed another piece of information, which was that there was a possibility that experts surpassing the basic realm would enter the Ordinary Realm. Qin Shujian was not certain. Were there such experts in other places? If it was 1 or 2, it would be fine. However, if there were 10 or 8 of them, he would feel very guilty. Chapter 79. In the room, Qin Shujian sat at the side of the table, where there were 3 books of cultivation techniques. They were the rock technique, the flowing water technique, and the subduing tiger body forging technique. These 3 techniques were passed down from Ming'ai Mountain, Chuanyun Village, and Mountain of Chaos. After Niu Feng and the others surrendered, Qin Shujian also asked for these techniques. However, he looked at the techniques on the table. He was not in a hurry to learn them. Instead, he looked at his own attribute panel. Name: Qin Shujian. Identity: Liangshan Village Leader. Affiliation: Liangshan Village. Realm: Martial Arts Level 10. Liangshan Village's territory: Realm +3. Influence Level: 2nd Class. Influence Cultivation Method: Body Forging Scripture. 10th Layer plus Fusion of Elements: Mortal High Grade. Black Tiger Saber Technique: Unity of Heaven and Man. Mortal Middle Grade. Eternal Spring Gong. 10th Layer plus Mortal Life Extension Level 5. True Energy Level 2. Mortal High Grade. 7 Leaf. Piercing Flower Palm plus Become Proficient. Mortal Low Grade. 5 Elements Bagua Steps plus Great Heights. Mortal Low Grade. Life Source 3641. His life source had reached an unprecedented 3,000 points. Except for the Black Tiger Saber technique, all the techniques had a deduced plus sign behind them. Looking at the body forging scripture and eternal spring art that had reached the 10th level, Qin Shujian's mind fell on the plus sign behind the body forging scripture. But it was only for a moment. He stopped what he was doing, because in that instant, the threat from the unseen world had suddenly descended upon them again. The only difference was, compared to the unstoppable terror last time, the threat this time was much weaker. Even if he still felt that it was fatal, the threat has weakened. It seems that my strength has improved. In that case, as long as I am strong enough, the shackles of the Ordinary Realm are not unbreakable. Qin Shujian thought to himself. There were some things that could be seen from just a few traces. The Qingxian Taoist who appeared in Novice Village 23012. Why did he enter the Ordinary Realm? Was there any other influence behind him? These were all things worth pondering. But at that time, the other party had made it clear that he was not going to let him go. Under such circumstances, even if the other party had an extraordinary background, he would still kill them first. Qin Shujian shook his head slightly and muttered to himself, "No matter what, as long as I can increase my strength, then all the problems won't be a problem. Only the strong have the final say." Subsequently, his gaze landed on the 3 books on the table. The body tempering scripture and the everlasting spring technique couldn't help him break through the shackles of the Ordinary Realm, so he could only try to increase his strength as much as possible. He flipped through the 3 cultivation techniques one by one. Very quickly, 3 new skills appeared on the attribute panel. Mortal Low-Grade Boulder Art, Mortal Low-Grade Flowing Water Technique, Mortal Mid-Grade Subduing Tiger Body Tempering Technique. Qin Shujian glanced at the 3 cultivation methods and then shifted his gaze to the life source. With more than 3,000 life force points, he could at most deduce a cultivation technique to the 9th level. He couldn't even deduce the 10th level. After thinking for a while, he immediately clicked on the plus sign behind the tiger subduing body tempering art. If he had to choose one out of the three, he would definitely choose the one with the highest rank. Very quickly, he used up a bit of his life source and raised the tiger subduing body tempering art by 1 level. A surge of new energy surged from his body, as if it was tempering his body once again. Qin Shujian felt the changes in his body, and his face instantly revealed a trace of surprise. After reaching the 10th level of the martial realm, the fusion of elements as one, his fleshly body had already reached a state where it was flawless. But under such circumstances, the tiger's subduing body tempering art still had a tempering effect on his body and seemed to be able to advance to the next level. This wasn't simple. However, the effect of simply raising the tiger's subduing body tempering art by 1 level was extremely limited. Therefore, Qin Shujian chose to raise it again. His life source disappeared like flowing water. The number of levels of the tiger's subduing body tempering art also increased step by step. Waves of new energy surged, washing the flesh and bones in his body. Every time it washed, it caused the aura on his body to become more condensed. As for the pain during the breakthrough process, Qin Shujian said that he had gotten used to it after breaking through so many times. When the source of life had shrunk to 3 digits, the tiger subduing body tempering art finally stopped at the 9th level. Tiger subduing body tempering skill. Vajra subduing tiger level 2. Its grade had also risen from the middle mortal rank to the high mortal rank. Vajra tiger subduing level 2. Qin Shujian clenched his fists, as if he could feel the thick, mercury-like liquid flowing slowly in his body. If he was at the 10th level of the body tempering scripture, his physical strength would be around 12,000 jin. Then, when he reached the 10th level of the eternal spring art, his physical strength would reach 20,000 jin. This was because the eternal spring art did not focus on blood and qi, but on qi. Now, with the addition of the 9th level of the tiger subduing body tempering art, he would be able to achieve the same result. In that case, his physical strength would increase from 20,000 jin to 30,000 jin. This was a very frightening leap. At this moment, Qin Shujian understood what the 2nd level of the Vajra tiger subduing body tempering art meant. It meant that when he cultivated this art, he would have the strength of the Vajra tiger subduing body tempering art. The 10th level of the eternal spring art's characteristics are longevity and the 2nd level of qi. The 9th level of the tiger subduing body tempering art's characteristics are the 2nd level of the Vajra tiger subduing body tempering art. In that case, the body tempering art should be the weakest art. Only when there was a comparison would the gap be revealed. In the past, Qin Shujian thought that the body tempering art's characteristics of blood and qi were an additional effect of the art. But as his realm became deeper and deeper, his vision became wider and wider. He realized that this was not an additional characteristic of the body tempering art, but a characteristic of the body when one's realm reached a certain level. In other words, strictly speaking, the body tempering art did not have any special characteristics. In layman's terms, it was a blank slate art. Even the eternal spring art, which was at the lower mortal rank, had the characteristics of longevity and the 2nd level of qi. On a certain level, it was already a street ahead of the body tempering art. The tiger subduing body tempering art was the same, but it was just a thought. Qin Shujian also felt that it was natural. After all, the body tempering art was only the art of the Cold Mountain Stronghold, and the strength of the Cold Mountain Stronghold was completely at the bottom of the many forces he had encountered. On the contrary, Wu Shang was able to contribute the Black Tiger Saber technique, which was at the middle mortal rank, to him at that time. It was somewhat unusual. As his thoughts drifted, Qin Shujian's attention fell on himself again. Seeing that there were only 3 life sources left, he shook his head and sighed. He hesitated for a moment. With a thought, he directly upgraded the boulder art to the 5th level. As a result, his life sources directly fell to 2 digits. The life sources that I painstakingly accumulated are gone in such a short time. Sigh. Qin Shujian suddenly had the illusion that he was spending money like water. But soon, he drove this thought away. Now that more than 3,000 life sources were almost completely exhausted, What he obtained was the 9th level of the tiger subduing body tempering art and the 5th level of the boulder art. As for his strength, it had also increased by almost 50% from his original strength. Don't underestimate this 50%. The higher one's strength, the more difficult it was to increase it. But correspondingly, every bit of improvement brought about an immeasurable change. And this was not even taking into account the influence of the Cold Mountain stronghold. If the influence of the influence was taken into account, then his strength had already reached a shocking level. If the Qing Xian Taoist was still standing in front of him, Qin Shujian was confident that he could directly hammer him to death with his fist. Next, I should think of a way to get more life sources. Chapter 80. On the ancient road, dozens of fast horses galloped past. The dense sound of horse hooves was particularly striking on the quiet road. Soon, the fast horses stopped at the foot of the mountain. "My lord, this is Mount Liang. Mount Liang is on top of it." A man wearing armor riding on the back of a horse said. "Mount Liang?" Gu Feng narrowed his eyes. There was a faint majesty on his chiseled face. According to the final trajectory, Han Jing should have met with an accident in Mount Liang. "My lord, according to the information we have, the chief of Mount Liang is called Wu Sheng. He is only in the 3rd or 4th stage of the basic realm. It is unlikely that he is a match for Steward Han. Not to mention, there are so many guards in the caravan. Let's not talk about whether a small Mount Liang is a match for them. How would they have the guts to attack our carrier trading company? Whether it is true or not, we will know when we go up." Gu Feng shook his head and dismounted from the horse. The dozen or so people behind him also dismounted at the same time. "Leave 2 people to guard the horses. The rest of you, follow me up the mountain." Yes. Soon, with Gu Feng as the leader, they headed up Mount Liang. There were only 2 people left to guard the horses. However, when Gu Feng and the others were about to step onto Mount Liang, they were stopped by the bandits. "This is Mount Liang. No trespassers." Gu Feng paused and looked at the 2 bandits in tattered clothes. His eyes narrowed. Vigorous qi and blood? 6th stage of the basic realm? He almost thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. However, the vigorous qi and blood of the 2 bandits in front of him were about to hit his face. Gu Feng had no choice but to believe it. What really shocked him was, the clothes of these 2 bandits were just like those of ordinary bandits. One had to know. Experts in the 6th stage of the basic realm would receive preferential treatment in the carrier trading company's ordinary realm branch. Although they were not important, they would not be in such dire straits. For a moment, all kinds of possibilities flashed through Gu Feng's mind. It was obvious. The information they had about Cold Mountain Stronghold was completely wrong. According to the original information, Mount Liang only had a group of bandits in the 1st or 2nd stage of the basic realm. Even the chief was only in the 3rd or 4th stage of the basic realm. But now, 2 experts in the 6th stage of the basic realm made him realize that this matter was not simple. Suppressing the throbbing in his heart, Gu Feng smiled and cupped his fists. "I'm Gu Feng of the Fortune Trading Company. I'm here to pay my respects to the Cold Mountain Stockade Master." The people behind Gu Feng had strange expressions on their faces. There was something wrong with the script. According to Gu Feng's personality, he shouldn't be so polite to a small Yangshan stockade. Since these people were not as strong as Ancient Wind, and the bandits' disguise had a certain degree of confusion, they did not notice anything amiss. Therefore, they were very surprised by Gu Feng's change. However, even though they were surprised, they didn't say anything. They continued to stand behind Gu Feng like guards. "Chung Yun Trading Company?" Lu Er's brows furrowed as a look of doubt appeared on his tanned face. He was unfamiliar with the name Chung Yun Trading Company. However, Gu Feng gave him an unusual feeling, so he did not dare to be too rude. Especially since the other party had specifically mentioned that he wanted to pay a visit to his fort master, he did not dare to offend him rashly. He was afraid that the other party had something to do with his fort master. Thinking of this, Lu Er immediately said, "Sir, please wait for a moment. I will go and report to my fort master." "Go ahead." Gu Feng nodded politely. Then, Lu Er signaled another bandit with his eyes and rushed up the mountain. Loyalty Hall. Staying on top of Liangshan. Other than staying in his room, Qin Shujian spent the rest of his time in Loyalty Hall. The current him, he felt more and more like a boss who had nothing to do. He sat in the stockade every day, in a position that had not moved for thousands of years. The only thing that was lacking was the players who came to the mountain bandits to kill monsters and bosses. If I didn't destroy the novice village in Liangshan, some players would have come to my Liangshan stockade by now. Qin Shujian lay on the tiger pelt chair as his mind was filled with random thoughts. The tiger pelt on the chair was taken from Ming'ai Mountain in Bull Peak. After all, Ming'ai Mountain had already surrendered. It was impossible for a small subordinate hall master to use it better than him, the fort master. At this moment, a bandit came in from outside. He looked at Qin Shujian and bowed his head. "Greetings, fort master. What's the matter?" Qin Shujian glanced at Lu Er and asked calmly. There were many bandits in Liangshan stockade. He couldn't possibly know all of them. At most, he just felt that they looked familiar. Lu Er said, "A dozen people came down the mountain. The leader called himself Gu Feng of the Carrier Trading Company. He came to visit Fort Master." Carrier Trading Company? Qin Shujian couldn't help but straighten his body. His expression changed slightly. He wasn't familiar with the name Carrier Trading Company, but he was definitely familiar with it. Back then, his first target of robbery was the caravan of the Carrier Trading Company. Now, he had a token from the Carrier Trading Company in his hand. If I remember correctly, the relationship between Liangshan Stockade and the Carrier Trading Company is still a grudge. It's just hidden. Now that people from the Carrier Trading Company are here, could it be that the matter has been exposed? Qin Shujian tapped his finger lightly as his mind kept thinking. Those who came didn't come with good intentions. Without a doubt, even if Gu Feng wasn't here to seek revenge, he definitely had something to do with Han Jing. However, Qin Shujian wasn't afraid. The current Liangshan stockade was no longer what it used to be. Second-class forces were generally at least level 6 of the basic realm. With him in charge, even if he wasn't invincible in the ordinary realm, there weren't many who could pose a threat to him. Moreover, this was his Liangshan stockade's territory. A powerful dragon couldn't suppress a snake in its old haunts. Since the other party had the guts to come here, he had no reason to avoid meeting them. Let them come up.
Yes.
Wait. Just as Lu Er was about to turn and leave, Qin Shujian suddenly called out to him. Lu Er was puzzled at this. Based on your eyesight, what realm do you think they are in? Lu Er pondered for a moment and said, at least level 6 of the basic realm, but I don't think it's much higher. It's a pity that my eyesight isn't good enough. How is he compared to me? Of course not, Fort Master. That's all. You can go. Hearing this, Qin Shujian smiled and waved his hand. Lu Er immediately turned and left. Looking at the other party's back, Qin Shujian rubbed his chin with his palm. At least level 6 of the basic realm, but not as good as him. There was a high probability that he was at level 7 or 8 of the basic realm. This kind of strength could only be considered above average in Liangshan Stockade. However, he had to wait until they met to confirm everything. Qin Shujian already had a plan in mind. Chapter 81. Just when Gu Feng and the others were getting impatient, Lu Er finally came down from Mount Liang. Everyone, our chief invites you. Follow me. Thank you. Gu Feng suppressed his impatience and smiled as he cupped his hands. Then, Lu Er led Gu Feng and the others up the mountain along a small path. Because Mount Liang village's strength had increased very quickly, Qin Shujian did not have much time to repair Mount Liang. Therefore, it was now a second-class force. However, the structure was still the same as before. Walking on the mountain path, Gu Feng secretly observed the surrounding environment. After seeing that the two bandits were both in the 6th stage of the martial realm, he had completely forgotten about the information about Mount Liang village and looked at this matter with a cautious gaze. For the ordinary realm, the appearance of such a force was not something that could be easily ignored. However, as they went deeper and deeper into Mount Liang village, Gu Feng became more and more shocked. Even the people who had followed him here had noticed something unusual at this moment, because they discovered every bandit that passed by gave them an inexplicable threat. It was as if they had encountered a powerful opponent. When he reached the end, Gu Feng did not know how many times he had secretly gasped and even entered a state of shock. 100? Or 200? Everyone's strength was at least in the 6th stage of the martial realm. He was almost certain this Mount Liang village had definitely reached the 2nd-class force. 2nd-class force. This Mount Liang village is not simple. It seems that I have to report it as soon as possible, Gu Feng thought in his heart, but his expression did not change. Not long after, the simple and crude loyalty hall appeared in front of Gu Feng and the others. Lu Er paused and said, "The chief is in the loyalty hall. Everyone, please follow me." Seeing this, Gu Feng and the others did not say anything. They did not have the slightest contempt for the simple and crude loyalty hall in front of them, because, in the Cold Mountain stronghold, they had already encountered enough powerhouses. Stepping into the loyalty hall, Gu Feng and the others saw the young man sitting on the main seat. His appearance could only be considered above average, but he gave people a feeling of dignity without being angry. There was a large saber in his right hand, and the silver-white blade seemed to emit a cold light. Gu Feng had only taken one look at the other party and was slightly surprised. However, he quickly got used to it. 10th stage of the basic realm, mixed elements as one. In his perception, the other party was just like an ordinary person. There was no trace of blood chi leaking out. To be able to sit here, the identity of the other party was obvious. The leader of Mount Liang. How could someone who was suspected to be the master of a 2nd-grade faction be an ordinary person? Gu Feng was more willing to believe that the other party was an expert in the 10th stage of the basic realm. Inside the Chung Shipping Company, it wasn't that there weren't any experts of this level. Compared to a 2nd-class force, a 10th stage warrior was easier to accept. After Lu Er entered the Hall of Loyalty, he reported respectfully, "Chief, they are from the Changyun Trading Company." Gu Feng of the Changyun Trading Company greets the Cold Mountain Stockade Master. Gu Feng cupped his hands in greeting. Qin Shujian glanced at Gu Feng, then waved to Lu Er and said, "You can leave first? This humble one will take his leave." Lu Er acknowledged and retreated. Soon, in the Hall of Loyalty, there were only Qin Shujian, Gu Feng, and the others left. Qin Shujian silently looked at the other party and didn't say anything. Seeing this, Gu Feng didn't want to speak first. The scene fell silent for a moment, but soon, beads of sweat appeared on Gu Feng's forehead. Under Qin Shujian's gaze, he felt as if he was being stared at by a terrifying existence. The invisible pressure made his heart beat violently. Even the others had an uneasy look on their faces. "Why have you come to my Mount Liang?" A faint voice sounded, breaking the silence. That formless pressure instantly dissipated into nothingness. Gu Feng's chest heaved violently a few times. He felt as if the heavy burden on his body had suddenly disappeared. This made him respect Qin Shujian's strength even more. Hearing this, he immediately cupped his hands and replied, "The Changyun Trading Company heard that a Mount Liang has risen here. They have also heard a lot about the reputation of the Stockade Master, so they specially sent me to visit you to show the sincerity of the Changyun Trading Company." At this point, Gu Feng took out a palm-sized jade box from his sleeve. He took a step forward and held the jade box with both hands. "This is a small gift from the Changyun Trading Company. I hope the Stockade Master doesn't dislike it." Seeing this, Qin Shujian was startled. This script seemed to be a little different from what he had expected. He originally thought that Gu Feng was here to denounce him, but now it seemed that this was not the case at all. However, after being stunned for a moment, Qin Shujian roughly understood what was going on. The change in Gu Feng's attitude should be related to the change in Mount Liang. These thoughts flashed through his mind. On the surface, he remained calm and collected. He reached out and took the jade box. Then he opened the jade box. There was a pearl the size of a baby's fist lying quietly inside. This is a deep-sea clam pearl. Although it's not priceless, it's still very precious. I hope the Stockade Master will like it. Gu Feng at the side explained in a timely manner. Qin Shujian closed the jade box and put it aside. he said with a smile. This stockade master has already felt the sincerity of your trading company. You didn't come here just for this purpose, did you? Of course. Gu Feng regained his calm and said with a faint smile, I came here this time in hopes of cooperating with the stockade master. Cooperation? That's right. The stockade master may not know this, but the Chung Yuan Trading Company is one of the most famous trading companies in the Great Zhao Nation. Our influence extends through the 13 prefectures of the Great Zhao Nation. Most of the merchants and goods in the world can't do without the Chung Yuan Trading Company. Moreover, the Chung Yuan Trading Company has everything from rare and exotic treasures to grains. If the stockade master has anything to sell or is looking for treasures, you can go through the Chung Yuan Trading Company. As Gu Feng spoke, he unconsciously revealed a trace of pride. It was pride in the Chung Yuan Trading Company. But in the end, he recovered and withdrew that trace of pride. Instead, he cupped his hands and said politely, if my guess is correct, Mount Liang should be a second-class force. To be able to become a second-class force in the ordinary realm of the 13 prefectures, Mount Liang can be considered one of the top forces. The Chung Yuan Trading Company wants to make friends with forces with potential and strength. I came here this time with sincerity. What does the stockade master think? Hearing this, Qin Shujian's expression was as usual. He didn't immediately reply, but in reality, he couldn't help but feel a little shocked. A force connected to the 13 prefectures. To tell the truth, he had never imagined that the Chung Yuan Trading Company's power would reach such a level. Even if Gu Feng was exaggerating, there was no doubt that the Chung Yuan Trading Company was a colossus. At least, for the current Mount Liang, it was a colossus. Chapter 82. Originally, Qin Shujian thought that Gu Feng was here to seek revenge. He was prepared for the worst. If Gu Feng did anything wrong, he would immediately kill him. As for whether it would cause any trouble in the future, that was a matter for the future. In the ordinary realm, Qin Shujian was confident that with the strength of Cold Mountain Village, they would not be afraid of anyone. But Gu Feng's attitude surprised Qin Shujian. It did not matter if Gu Feng was afraid of Cold Mountain Village's strength, or if he was not here for Han Jing's matter at all. The important thing was, judging from Gu Feng's attitude, Chung Yuan Trading Company did not want to offend Cold Mountain Village. Qin Shujian's interest was piqued by the man's words. Now that there were more and more people in Cold Mountain Village, the daily necessities required a large amount of money. Moreover, even if he had money, he might not be able to exchange for what he wanted. Because Cold Mountain Village and Stone Forest Village were too remote. Although there were villages in the area, the resources that could be exchanged were extremely limited. Unless he could go into the town. Not to mention the cumbersome process, it might also cause other troubles. After all, Cold Mountain Village was abandoned and belonged to the Forest Village. Thinking of this, Qin Shujian already had an idea in his mind, but he did not immediately agree. Apart from this, what other purpose do you have? Why don't you tell me all at once? Chung Yuan Trading Company is a merchant. Of course it is profitable to trade with others. But to be honest, I do have a small request that I hope your village can agree to. Let's hear it. I hope that if Chung Yuan Trading Company passes through Cold Mountain Village's territory in the future, I hope your village can let us pass through. Of course, we will pay the corresponding compensation. What do you think? Gu Feng said with a smile. Hearing this, Qin Shujian pondered for a while. Gu Feng did not mention Cold Mountain Village, but Cold Mountain Village's territory. This meant, if he agreed, as long as it was Cold Mountain Village's territory, he would have to let Chung Yuan Trading Company pass through. But what really caught Qin Shujian's attention was the word reward. I can promise you that. Gu Feng was overjoyed, and the smile on his face became even more radiant. Perhaps there was some misunderstanding in the past, but I hope that the Chung Yuan Trading Company will have a pleasant cooperation with your village in the future. Of course. Qin Shujian also smiled. Gu Feng's words were telling him. The Chung Yuan Trading Company already knew about Han Jing's matter, but they didn't care about such a small matter. Everyone let bygones be bygones and let it go. Regarding this, Qin Shujian was naturally happy to hear that. After all, having one less enemy was better than having one more. Since the other party was aware of the situation, he wasn't an unreasonable person. Seeing that the matter had been settled, Gu Feng immediately took out a square copper plate from his sleeve and handed it over. He said, "This is the token of our carrier trading company. The holder of this token is a friend of our carrier trading company. Our Changyun Trading Company can be found all over the 13 prefectures, and every branch of the trading company has a clear symbol. Fort Master only needs to send someone to show the token, and there will naturally be someone to receive you." Qin Shujian reached out and took the token. Then, Gu Feng took a step back and cupped his hands. "This matter is settled. I have other matters to attend to, so I won't disturb you any further. Farewell." "Hold on." Seeing that Gu Feng was about to leave, Qin Shujian immediately called out to him. Gu Feng was slightly taken aback, but his expression soon returned to normal. "Fort Master, what other matters do you have? You said that if I have anything I want to sell, I can do it through the carrier trading company?" Qin Shujian played with the copper token in his hand and said with a faint smile, "Of course. Just nice, I have a batch of goods here. Take a look and see how much they are worth." Gu Feng looked at the pile of antique calligraphy and paintings in front of him and was suddenly at a loss for words. Qin Shujian signaled with his eyes and said, "Brother Gu, take a look and see how much these things are worth. These antique calligraphy and paintings are worth about 5,000 taels of silver. If Fort Master is sure to sell them, I don't have much cash on me, so I'm afraid I'll have to go to the nearest branch to exchange." Gu Feng suddenly felt a toothache and said helplessly, with his eyesight, how could he not know where these goods came from? Some of the goods were even printed with the logo of the carrier trading company. These were the goods that Han Jing had escorted before. Not only did the other party not only steal them, but they also brought them to him in public and asked him how much they could be sold for. If it weren't for Qin Shujian's strength and the strength of Cold Mountain Village, he might have directly turned hostile. Unfortunately, in the face of great strength, many things could be ignored. Just like he knew that Han Jing was defeated by Cold Mountain Village, but he pretended that it didn't happen. Hearing this, Qin Shujian directly waved his hand and said generously, "Brother Gu can take all these things away. Anyway, I still trust the reputation of the carrier trading company. As for exchanging them for silver, there's no need. I have a big family and business. Please exchange these 5,000 taels of silver for food. Is that okay? Give me 5 days." "No problem." Seeing this, Gu Feng directly ordered the guards behind him to carry all the antique calligraphy and paintings away. Finally, Qin Shujian took out the jade box that Gu Feng gave him and directly returned it. "In addition, I also hope that Brother Gu can give me some books. It's best if you can bring a map of the Great Zhao country, as well as other interesting stories of the past and present. Even cultivation methods are not a problem. If you can get a graded saber, it would be best. My tiger head saber, a 9th grade sharp weapon, is not very handy. Anyway, I don't have much silver, but looking at this jade box and clam beads, they should be worth a lot. Brother Gu can do as you see fit, more or less." Hee, Village Head is really a free and easy person. Gu Feng took the jade box and forced the corners of his mouth to twitch. "Since Brother Gu has other things to do, then go ahead. I won't waste your time. Goodbye." After saying this, Gu Feng directly turned and left with his men. He didn't want to stay in Cold Mountain Village for a moment longer. Of course, the encounter just now was part of it. But the most important thing was that he had to go back and report the situation of Cold Mountain Village. A second-class force. It might not be much outside the ordinary realm, but in the ordinary realm, it was at the top. If the carrier trading company did business in this area, they would inevitably have to deal with Cold Mountain Village in the future. It should be known that a second-class force would definitely not be content with staying in a corner. With Cold Mountain Village's strength, if they wanted to annex the surrounding forces, there wouldn't be many who could resist them. Soon, Gu Feng disappeared from Cold Mountain Village. The smile on Qin Shujian's face gradually disappeared and returned to its original indifference. Chapter 83. It seems that a second-class faction is more important than I thought. Looking at the scenery in front of him, Qin Shujian fell into deep thought. From the beginning to the end, he had been testing Gu Feng's bottom line. But it was a pity. No matter how he probed, Gu Feng did not reveal any clues. This also made Qin Shujian understand one thing. That is, a second-class faction like Cold Mountain Village also had an important position in the eyes of the carrier trading company. No, or to be more precise, in the ordinary realm, he had the status of being able to lift heavy weights as if they were light. Qin Shujian was not arrogant enough to think that a group of bandits in the 6th stage of the martial arts realm and him, a bandit leader in the 10th stage of the martial arts realm, could really dominate the outside world, the place where he could truly dominate. In other words, it was in the ordinary realm. And it was still because the ordinary realm could not have an expert surpassing the 10th stage of the martial arts realm. Otherwise, it was unknown whether a second-class faction could maintain its current position. However, this time, Gu Feng's visit allowed Qin Shujian to see some good things. That was, the antique paintings that had been piled up finally had a use. 5,000 taels of silver were exchanged for food. With the current population of Cold Mountain Village, it was enough to last for a long time. Even if it continued to expand, it could still last for a long time. Thinking of expanding, Qin Shujian suddenly had an idea. In the Zhongyi Hall, Qin Shujian directly summoned Feng and the others. Everyone looked at each other. In the end, Feng was the first to ask, "Leader, why did you call us here?" Qin Shujian looked at them and said indifferently, "Now in the Stone Forest and Cold Mountain Village, how many villages are there in total? Roughly how many people are there?" Hearing this, Feng and the others looked at each other. Finally, Su Yuanming said, "There are 7 villages in the Stone Forest. The large ones have a population of thousands, and the small ones only have 100 or 200. The estimated population is around 6,000 or 7,000. Just like Cold Mountain Village. In the past, Chuanyun Village and other forces would also collect protection fees from the nearby villages. Their method of collection was also based on the number of people. Therefore, Su Yuanming didn't know the approximate number of people in each village, but he had a rough idea. On the other side, Wang Taizhu also replied, "There are 5 villages in the Liang Mountain area. The big ones have around 1,000 people, and the small ones have around 100 to 200 people. The total population is around 3,000 people." In the past, how much did these villages offer each year? Qin Shujian asked again. Wang Taizhu didn't hesitate and immediately replied, "According to the proportion of the village's young and strong people, each young and strong person is worth 1 tael of silver per year. The same goes for the Stone Forest." Hearing this, Qin Shujian also had an estimate in his mind. According to what Wang Taizhu had said, there were 5 villages in the Liang Mountain area. In total, there were 2,000 to 3,000 people. Excluding the old and the young and strong would only make up 1/3 or 1/4 of the population. In a year, it was less than 1,000 taels of silver. Based on the population ratio of the Cold Mountain Stronghold, it would cost at least 700 to 800 taels of silver a year. In this way, it would barely break even. Qin Shujian finally understood why the Liang Mountain Stronghold was so poor in the past. "Now, I plan to change the rules of offering," Qin Shujian slowly said after pondering for a while. Feng cupped his hands and said, "Please speak frankly, Stronghold Master. We respectfully listen. In the future, the village will change the proportion of the villages, offering from the number of young and strong people to the number of households. Every household with 5 people will receive 1 tael of silver. After that, every additional 5 people will receive an additional tael of silver." As Qin Shujian spoke, he looked at everyone's expression. After a pause, he continued, "In addition, the Liang Mountain Stronghold will recruit bandits from all the villages. As long as they are young and strong, every household will have 1 young and strong person. If there are 3 young and strong people, the offering will be completely free. If more than half of the village's young and strong people join the Liang Mountain Stronghold, the offering will be completely free." As soon as these words were spoken, many people's expressions changed slightly. Only Feng's expression didn't change, but his hand that was twirling his beard seemed to have paused for a moment. Qin Shujian ignored them and continued. Similarly, If less than 30% of the village's young and strong people join the Liang Mountain stronghold, every household in the village will pay double the amount of silver. If you don't follow, you should know what to do. Don't worry, Stronghold Master. We know what to do. The others all lowered their heads in response. In the last sentence, they smelled a strong, murderous aura. Now, everyone understood what Qin Shujian was planning. He clearly wanted to expand the Liang Mountain stronghold. Moreover, he was using the most direct and forceful method to expand. If they followed the other party's orders in a short period of time, the number of bandits in the Liang Mountain stronghold would definitely increase by 2 or 3 times over. Similarly, the stronger the Liang Mountain stronghold was, the more benefits they would receive as members of the Liang Mountain stronghold. However, this wasn't without hidden dangers. Niu Feng said in a low voice, "If we do this, the amount of silver offered will be greatly reduced. When the time comes, the number of brothers will increase and consumption will be a big problem." Don't worry, I naturally know this. Don't forget what we do for a living. The silver offered by these villages isn't our main source of income, Qin Shujian said with a faint smile. Since he made this decision, he must have thought it over. Hearing this, Niu Feng suddenly understood. That's right, they were a Lulan faction. There were many sources of income in the Lulan faction. Every one of them was more efficient and faster than collecting protection fees from the tributes. Especially with the current strength of the Liang Mountain stronghold, there probably weren't many who could contend against them. Then it wasn't impossible for them to reach out to the territories outside of Liang Mountain and the Stone Forest. Afterwards, Qin Shujian looked at Zheng Fang again and said, "Over at the drill hall, we need to do a good job of imparting cultivation methods and do our best to increase their strength in a short period of time. At the very least, we need to be able to bring them out so that they won't be completely useless." Don't worry, Stronghold Master. The drill hall won't have any problems. At night. Inside the room, Qin Shujian was playing with a bronze token in his hand. The relevant information of the token appeared in his mind. He was actually very interested in this token that he unexpectedly obtained, as well as the information about the unknown cave dwelling hidden in the token. It was just that previously, dealing with 23012 Novice Village was more important, so he didn't pay too much attention to it. Now that he had some free time, Qin Shujian also intended to take a look at where this so-called unknown cave dwelling was. His mind was immersed in the bronze token. A faintly discernible connection was born, and gradually became more and more solid. At the same time, the coordinates of a place appeared in Qin Shujian's mind. Chapter 84. You've used the token of an unknown cave. You've obtained the location of the unknown cave. Note: the unknown cave is located in the death-summoning valley of the Immortal Plains. Place the token in the valley on a full moon night, and you can summon the unknown cave. Qin Shujian put down the bronze token. Just now, he had obtained the location of the unknown cave. However, the location of the unknown cave surprised him a little. Immortal Plains? Qin Shujian's expression was inexplicable. It seems that the target of the attack has to be changed. Originally, he was prepared to attack the Lion-Tiger Plains. But now that the unknown cave was in the Immortal Plains, Qin Shujian changed his initial idea. But although he had this idea, he did not plan to attack the Immortal Plains immediately. With the current strength of the Liangshan village, it was already very difficult to control Liangshan and the Stone Forest. After all, second-class forces were powerful, but no matter how strong they were only 500 people. With such a number of people, they were naturally powerful when gathered together. But if they were too scattered, the difference would be too great. This was also the reason why Qin Shujian wanted to recruit young men from various villages to expand the Liangshan village. It was for the sake of expanding the territory in the future and having enough manpower. Or else, take a piece of territory and lose another piece of territory. Qin Shujian couldn't be bothered to do such a useless thing. Inside a swampy, muddy ground, 5 or 6 players walked there cautiously. Every step they took seemed to be tested, for fear that they would fall into the surrounding swamp if they were not careful. This damn place is too smelly. Su Ziqing complained helplessly. Her slender hand fanned, trying to dispel the stench. But in the swamp, the rotten stench was nowhere to be seen. She fanned a few times. Not only did she not get rid of the stench, but because of the airflow, it attracted more stench. At that moment, Su Ziqing's face turned green. Qinshan looked at the map in his hand and said in a deep voice, "According to the map, our mission target is in the deepest part of the swamp. We'll almost reach it after walking for a while." The surrounding stench also made him frown slightly. But compared to Su Ziqing, his performance was much better. In the party, a young man named Wu Quan said, "That NPC can't be tricking us, right? This place doesn't look like a normal place." Who knows? But since it's a hidden quest, it's not strange for the place to be strange. It's just that the smell is too strong. Su Ziqing rolled her eyes and said helplessly, "To tell the truth, if it wasn't for this hidden mission, she would never have come close to such a place." Chen Chen, who was walking at the front, looked at the map while observing the surrounding environment. "Don't talk too much. Pay attention to the surroundings. There might be other monsters hiding in this place. If you're not careful, you won't be able to resolve it in a day or two. The higher the realm, the higher the realm. Every time he died, the price he had to pay would be greater. For people like them, advancing from the 5th stage of the basic realm to the 6th stage of the basic realm took 4 to 5 days. If he died here, not only would he fail the hidden mission, but he would also have to waste 4 to 5 days to recover his cultivation. In this way, he left. The price was too great. Hearing this, the faces of Su Ziqing and the others turned serious, and they did not continue the conversation. With Chen Shun in the lead, the group of 5 slowly walked in the swamp. The atmosphere was a little quiet for a while. Coo, coo. All of a sudden, a strange sound came from the swamp. Chen Shun and the others involuntarily stopped and turned their eyes to a swamp not far away. The dark green swamp kept bubbling, as if something was breathing under it. "Be careful," Chen Shun said cautiously, his eyes still fixed on the swamp. He himself was not sure what would appear in this strange swamp. Under everyone's cautious gazes, a rotten arm suddenly stretched out from the dark green swamp. Then, the dark green swamp surged violently, and a rotten corpse holding a bone knife struggled to stand up from the swamp. In an instant, a foul stench emanated from the rotting corpses. When the players caught a whiff of the stench, they couldn't help but feel dizzy and suffocated. "Oh no, it's poisonous." Chun Chun immediately reacted. Without thinking, he took out a dark red pill from his bag and swallowed it in one gulp. After swallowing the dark red elixir, the dizziness suddenly disappeared. At this time, Chen Chun could not help but feel that it was a close call. Fortunately, he knew that there might be a lot of miasma and poisonous gas in the swamp, so he prepared a lot of antidotes in advance. Now, it finally came into effect. The other players also took the elixir at Chen Chen's reminder. Looking at the rotten corpse that swayed toward them, Chen Chen said in a low voice, "Ziqing, can you see the attributes of this monster?" This kind of thing had no intelligence at first glance. It was undoubtedly a monster. "Let me try." Su Ziqing resisted the foul smell and directly cast an insight spell on the monster. Suddenly, all the information about the monster appeared in her mind. This monster is called a rotten corpse. Its realm is at the 5th level of the basic martial arts realm. Its skill column is blank, but it has a corrosive poison characteristic. This monster is highly toxic, Su Ziqing said in a serious voice. Wu Quan drew his weapon and said eagerly, "It's only at the 5th level of the basic martial arts realm. It doesn't look like a boss. We have 3 5th level and 2 6th level here. Taking care of it will be a matter of minutes. The monsters here might even drop something different. Let's finish it quickly." Chen Chen nodded and said. The purpose of their trip was to complete the mission, but if it was just to complete the mission, the rewards would undoubtedly be much lower. In the process of completing the mission, they could reasonably farm some monsters. This way, their realms would not fall too much because of the completion of the mission. After they reached an agreement, Chen Chen identified a few footholds that were not a problem and quickly gave out orders. At this time, The rotten corpse had completely climbed out of the swamp and slowly walked toward Qinshan and the others. Wu Quan took the lead and stabbed the rotten corpse with the long sword in his hand at an extremely fast speed. Slash! The long sword pierced the flesh, but the rotten corpse's movements did not slow down at all. It suddenly waved the bone knife at Wu Quan. Its movements were slow. It was just compared to a normal 5th level of the basic martial arts realm. In fact, no matter how slow it was still much faster than a normal person. Seeing this, Wu Quan was slightly shocked, but he did not panic. He drew his sword and retreated in time. At the same time, the other players' attacks also arrived at the right time. Chapter 85. They were all players at the 5th or 6th level of the basic martial arts realm. They were much faster than the zombies. So, after a few rounds, Wu Quan beheaded the zombie with one strike. The zombie's head fell into the swamp. The rotten corpse finally stopped moving and fell into the swamp. It was quickly swallowed up. The experience is a bit low. It's only about 1/10 of the experience of the same level. Qinshan looked at the experience bar and frowned. Although the experience is low, it's no less difficult to deal with than other monsters at the 5th level of the basic martial arts realm. Wu Quan's expression was grave as well. Although the zombies moved slowly, their bodies were highly resistant to physical attacks due to their rotten bodies. Unless they cut off the zombie's head like just now. Or else, it was extremely difficult to kill a rotting undead. Only the few of them could do it together. If anyone acted alone, they would not be able to kill the zombies so easily. Monsters like this that were difficult to deal with and gave little experience. They would not be popular in the eyes of the players. Moreover, these monsters did not drop anything. Maybe not, but the bodies were swallowed up by the swamp. Even if something did drop, they would not be able to get it. To put it simply, killing this kind of monster was basically a thankless task. Forget it. If we see these monsters again, we won't kill them. Let's just finish the mission and leave. Agreed. Hearing Qinshan's words, Su Ziqing and the others did not object. At this moment, there was a dense sound. Coo, coo. The swamp around them bubbled up, and then there was a violent struggle. Go. Qinshan's expression suddenly changed. He shouted and left the place after finding a foothold. Everyone, follow my footsteps. At this moment, Su Ziqing also realized what was going on, and her pretty face turned pale in an instant. Hearing this, she did not dare to stay in the same place. Although they were flustered, they were still orderly. They followed the footholds left by Qinshan one after the other. As soon as they left, then, the zombies emerged from the swamp one after another. Wu Quan instinctively turned around when he heard the commotion behind him. He saw 20 to 30 rotting zombies. Go! There's a large group of zombies behind us. Seeing this, Wu Quan hurriedly shouted. If it was just a zombie, it would be fine. He should be able to handle 5 or 6 of them. However, there were 20 to 30 of them. In addition, this was a swamp. There wasn't much opportunity for them to swim away. They could only choose to face them head-on. Once he was surrounded by the rotting zombies, he could almost foresee what the outcome would be. However, before they could get too far, several zombies appeared from the swamp in front of them. Immediately after, zombies crawled out of the swamps in all directions. Damn it! Qinshan's sword almost cut off the arm of a charging zombie. At the same time, he kicked the zombie back into the swamp. His face turned ugly, because in his line of sight, hundreds of rotting corpses had already appeared. They were so densely packed that they were about to surround all of them. Furthermore, even now, there were still zombies crawling out of the swamp. It was as if there were an endless number of zombies in the swamp. Don't get entangled with them. Follow me and open up a path. Qinshan roared angrily. He brandished his long sword and dozens of sword beams shot out. With a few slashes, the zombies in front of him were repelled. They temporarily tore a hole in the encirclement. Seeing this, Su Ziqing and the others hurriedly followed. At the same time, they kept attacking the zombies that tried to approach. All of a sudden, there was a hoarse roar. A tall zombie crawled out of the swamp and slashed at the group with a bone sword that was as tall as a person. When the pale bone sword slashed down, it was covered in a pale green light. It was frightening to look at. "Be careful, there's a boss." Chin pushed off with the tip of his foot and leaped up. He poured all his strength into his long sword and collided with the bone sword. Bang! In just one exchange, Chun felt a terrifying force coming from the bone saber, which directly shook him back. Even the long sword in his hand had a crack that was neither too big nor too small. Seeing this, the others also felt their hearts sink. They did not expect that there would be a boss in the swamp. Moreover, by the looks of it, its strength was not simple at all. Even Chin, who was at the 6th level of the martial arts realm, was no match for it. In just one exchange of blows, the players knew that the boss in front of them was a difficult character to deal with. Together with hundreds of zombies, they were no match for it at all. Therefore, after a brief moment of shock, the players immediately gave up on the boss that had suddenly appeared and focused all their attacks on the zombies that were blocking their way. They wanted to force their way out. "Don't get entangled with the boss. Let's work together to break out of here. Don't hide any tricks you have." Everyone used all of their skills, and their attacks were concentrated as they charged towards the rotting corpse. Their footsteps didn't slow down at all. Fortunately, the zombies were slow and could not form an effective encirclement in a short time. However, it was true that other zombies were slow, but as the boss, the zombie was not slow at all. Just as they were dealing with the other zombies, the zombie boss suddenly leaped up and slashed down with its bone dagger wrapped in a fierce wind. A player at the back saw the zombie boss attacking from the corner of his eye. He instinctively raised the iron rod in his hand and met the bone dagger. Boom! The two collided. The hand of the player's hand suddenly cracked and the iron rod flew out of his hand. Even he himself staggered and stepped into the dark green swamp. The player's expression changed drastically. He wanted to pull his left foot out of the swamp, but it seemed to weigh more than 10,000 pounds. He could not pull it out at all. Not only could he not pull it out, as he struggled, it seemed to be sinking deeper. The commotion behind him attracted the attention of the others. "Don't worry about me. You guys go first." "Let's go first. Completing the mission is more important." Hearing this, Chun understood the situation and made a decision immediately. If they stayed, they would definitely be wiped out. Therefore, they did not hesitate and rushed forward. As for the others, they only hesitated for a moment and followed Chin's footsteps. Players could be resurrected. At worst, they would drop by 1 level. Although the price was not small, it was not unbearable. Instead of turning back to rescue and risking the entire team being wiped out, it was better to sacrifice one person and try to complete the mission. Besides, if the players who stayed behind knew that they were going to die, they could still delay the boss. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.